The idiot Lord marries 5 beautiful goddesses. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 424, An Anonymous Figure 2. The speed of their descent slowed as they passed through the pile of rubble, and the two figures touched the ground with a thud. Orbs of fireballs lit up, clearing the darkness. The orbs floated around them and illuminated the dark passage. They looked at the plastered floor and then looked up at the ceiling. It seems to be an underground passage leading somewhere. A fierce fight seemed to have taken place here, the masked man muttered. Large dents and scratch marks filled the surrounding walls. Rubble and debris were scattered everywhere. Craters formed by the collision of fists and cuts made by sword marks had left deep impressions in many places. It was even surprising that this place had held up until now without collapsing. The masked man looked around and muttered, "Wilford, can you feel it?" Wilford nodded with a hardened expression. The space seemed to be filled with animosity. "I'm not talking about that," the masked man said and looked at Wilford with a meaningful look. Wilford touched one of the walls. Half of the space around here seemed to have been purified by someone. There's no trace of miasma in sight, but the lingering presence can still be felt. It seems like the other side had taken care of everything, but they purposely left a gift behind for others to notice, the masked man muttered. Wilford, you're at the mythic rank, so you can observe the flow of mana with your keen senses easily, so try to track the flow. Wilford immediately complied and stepped forward. His eyes flashed and he saw traces of mana from the previous fight floating in the air. The battle was a mess and it was already a miracle that this place was still standing. Wilford led the masked man inside through a broken wall and found a destroyed roof, sturdy shelves, and a weapon rack. Many chests have been opened and smashed from within. Not a single thing was left outside the warehouse. "Is this a robbery?" Wilford asked with a horrified expression. His face twisted into a frown as he looked around. Maybe the person needed money and that's why he took everything, or maybe it was an assassin who was sent to kill and take some, the masked man concluded and rubbed his chin. "But, is there an assassin who can use divinity and purification?" he spoke as he looked around strangely. "Wilford, let's try to look for clues." Knock. 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 The light of the flame spilled from the other side. The masked man snapped his finger and the fire orbs instantly disappeared. Wilford and the masked man, while looking around, saw the knights appear here, making them conclude that the secret passage might have led to here. Wilford ordered the knights to search around. The masked man, who was walking back and forth, suddenly stopped and looked at the north side of the passage where the wall had not been damaged. Except for this one, all the other places were damaged. The masked man tapped Wilford and asked him to take a look. "Light up that area." "Yes, sir." When the light illuminated the place, they only saw a normal wall standing with nothing out of place. It was just too normal, making one suspicious. Wilford released his mana and was startled for a moment. "Step back a little." Wilford raised his palms and a small glow appeared on them. Swoosh! An orb of mana flew towards the place and hit the wall. Swoosh! The entire wall was illuminated by a flashing red light that blinded the vision. The masked man's expression tensed, and he became alerted, wondering if there would be an attack on them. But contrary to everyone's thoughts, the blinding light on the wall disappeared, and soon words appeared shining in the darkness on the man. "The problem is deep within the ground. Purify it and the drought will disappear." Everyone's eyes widened with surprised expressions. The masked man's eyes trembled and his lips quivered. She couldn't discern much, but she didn't know why a seed of hope was planted in her heart. Inside the swaying carriage, Raya looked at Alex with an amused expression. Alex was stomping his feet on the ground again and again. He seemed quite nervous. "Alex, are you almost nervous or are you just pretending? Am I a sick need that needs to act like this just to get attention?" Alex said with a strange look. "What's got you anxious?" "I'm worried, of course. I don't know if they've understood my word or not. I even wonder if they'll understand it or not." "Then why didn't you just write it down directly?" "I was just being cautious. I don't know who will be the one coming to the place. I don't want any of those suspicious people to find out. That would lead to catastrophe." Alex racked his brains, wondering if he should risk writing something down or not. The miasma that had been invading Arkham had been repeatedly cleansed with the help of the churches, but this wasn't enough to return everything back to normal. The miasma had the property of contaminating everything it came into contact with, be it air, land, or soil. Contaminated water can become poisonous and kill people if taken carelessly. In the same way, the miasma slowly and steadily seeps into the soil and begins to affect them little by little. If their concentration is high, they can turn the ground black, and then you can notice a black, slimy mass writhing from there. As the miasma penetrated deeper into the ground, it was difficult to purify it unless the other side was skilled enough to cover it all in one go. As no one was as talented as his wife Athena, they simply wiped the surface and left the ground surface below, which is the cause of the biggest problem. Alex just wanted to convey this message to the other side, but he didn't know if he was successful or not. Chapter 425, Arlington City. After a long and troublesome journey, Alex and his men finally arrived at the city of Arlington. And as expected, the capital of the Arkham Empire looked glorious and prosperous. Long walls surrounded the place like a fortress while a river flowed in front of it. What had Alex not witnessed during this journey? From people who looked up with a vacant face as they resigned themselves to their fate and died from not being satiated, to people who did everything they could to survive even if they had to become bandits or robbers. At every turn of the road they had encountered a group of bandits trying to plunder them. Alex's immediate action should be to kill them at a glance, but those were not regular bandits, but ordinary people who threatened them with an axe, a sickle, and kitchen knives, which made Alex's heart bitter. It was a scene that Alex did not want to witness again. Even a stone-hearted person could melt after witnessing such a scene. Alex used gentle means to beat them and then placed the beast he hunted near them along with everyday things. He didn't give them any money, which might cause them more trouble than necessary. For the first time in his life, he felt like he had done a great deed by plundering Count Gray. He exchanges the money for clothes and food and places them in hideouts of commendable people, while his passage is limited to people he sees suffering. The lands near the border were still in good condition, but as he moved towards the border, Alex caught a glimpse of the farmlands where not a single crop could grow. Many towns and cities were already deserted and turned into villages with no one in sight. The farmlands have turned into barren, desert regions. Alex tried to clean up as much of the lands he passed through as possible that had exhausted him on the journey. But he was finally able to breathe in an air of freshness that made him feel revitalized once again. Snobbish. Snobbish. Max and many others even cried tears of joy. The term capital city alone made the entire city seem different. It seemed as if the surrounding buildings, the clothes people wore, the grass on the streets, and even the trees planted in front of the houses looked much more elegant and stylish. Max and the others looked around with barely contained excitement. Ian looked at Max and the others behaving pathetically and looked away to see Johnson looking at everything with the same expression and sighed. This was the center of Arkham's economic and political system, and the place was even more vibrant than Zenith, but the people's expectations and hopes seemed to still be hanging in the air. These people are just too much. Everyone, calm down. Don't act like you're some village scumbags. Don't dishonor our lord, Ian shouted and looked at Alex for more words, but almost tripped when he saw Alex's tearful expression. Lord, you too. I'm sorry, Ian, I couldn't help myself. I've missed good food for a long time, Alex muttered. Ribaya smiled helplessly and wrapped her hands around his arms. Alex and his men arrived before the massive inner city walls, where a large number of guards were checking on the people. They have to enter the inner area if they want to enter the Lockhart Merchant Group headquarters. Why is there such strict control? Alex muttered. Things have been a bit chaotic, that's why they need to verify our identity, one of the passers-by said. There were 4 passage gates. One for normal people. One for the awakened. One was for merchants and the other was exclusively for nobles and royalty. Arlington City was divided into 2 zones. Outer and inner. The inner zone was the central zone where many nobles and rich people were concentrated, while the outer zone was a zone for those of lower status. The division was not made based on wealth, but to concentrate security forces to identify suspicious individuals during the current crisis. And it was quite successful, as many demons and dark elves were captured because of this. Alex's carriage stood in the line of merchants. One by one, the carriage entered after being checked, and it was Alex's time. Alex and Ribeye got off the carriage. What's inside? An official asked. Clothes, animal skins, and the parts. The official took note and asked others to check. Do you have a registered merchant license? No sir, that's the reason we're here. I'm an adventurer who's been blessed with some luck. After scraping off all the valuable parts of the beast, I made some profit and wanted to start a business in town. Adventure, huh? Do you have proof? Alex took out his adventurer license and handed it to the officer, who carefully analyzed it. Sir, there's nothing wrong with it," the people said after searching the carriage. The officer nodded and looked at the group of men behind Alex and asked about them. "They are the people I hired for security. You know how the outside world is. It's grim." "Yes, you're right about that, but we must not lose hope." "All clear, let them through." Alex finally breathed a sigh of relief. Some of his men had entered through a common passage while others entered with him. "Sir, look at that," one of the men shouted as he looked at the sign. Alex's carriage stopped and he looked at the sign. The sign reads to donate something for the cause of others and to help others in times of need. There were also many signs with various advice. Preferring animal husbandry and herding during the current crisis. Increased recruitment of armed personnel. It was quite a remarkable approach that made Alex remember his past when the government advertised its plans through these signs. Looking at the signs and billboards, what caught his attention the most was the voluntary training of all the common masses for a certain period. "They're even going to train the common people?" Johnson asked with a surprised expression. "Are you all underestimating the common men?" Alex asked with a stern expression. "Sir, wouldn't it be a waste of resources when the reserves are already at an all-time low?" Alex shook his head and laughed. "They don't need to give them too many resources. Just basic training and knowledge of formation is enough, and if someone is lucky enough to awaken, that would benefit them a lot as well. Although the common people can become self-sufficient through this, it also means that they have the power to fight and could oppose the ruling forces," Ian said as he thought about the pros and cons. "Do you think Arkham had the luxury to think all this up now?" Alex couldn't help but praise the man who came up with this idea. It was a really good decision. People underestimate the common man too much. If hundreds of common men gathered together and formed a group, wouldn't a rank of disciples be easily defeated? Alex saw the burning fire in the people's eyes as he was on his way. If the common people could arm themselves with weapons to confront the enemies, they could even risk their lives to wipe out the other side. Once forced into a no-retreat situation, the army composed of command men could surely turn the scale if the main forces take care of the strongest. "Let's first find a place to stay, and then I want everyone to visit the church and offer their prayer." Athena would be angry if she knew we hadn't prayed for a while. Chapter 426, Darkness Pill. After finding a place to stay, Alex took the dark pill to experiment. Just holding the pill in his bare hands was enough to erode a part of his consciousness and fill him with a sense of destruction. The air around the pill slowly swirled and turned a dark gray color that spread around. On his way here, Alex didn't dare to take out the pills, wondering what effects it might cause on those nearby. It seems so potent that just inhaling it can cause unforeseen circumstances. Alex couldn't cure Count Grey, who was affected by it, so he didn't want his men to suffer the same fate. So, he asked his men to visit the church where the divinity and blessing of the goddess surrounded them, and even if some leaked out from there, it might not affect them. The church on the way doesn't have that strong holy power like in the capital. If he couldn't control it, he would just take Rhea out and leave the place and alert the church to take action. She felt that she was lucky that the seed was able to remain safely in the dimensional ring without causing any damage due to the time stoppage within it. But as soon as she took it out, it emitted a sinister aura and corroded everything around it. Alex had put the entire inn under her name and sealed the area. Alex crushed the pill into pieces and kept a portion of it aside. Alex took a pinch of the crushing power and her breathing quickened. She was using her divinity to prevent her hands from being affected as she tried to dispel the effect. However, she was unable to do so. Rhea frowned upon seeing Alex's anxious expression and asked, "Alex, are you alright?" Alex gulped, put down the crushed piece, and wiped away her sweat. "Rhea, it's not working." Alex's voice trembled a little, and he found himself in a helpless situation. "You mean that the combined purification of your light element and your blessings isn't working?" Alex nodded and spoke. "I can purify the surroundings it affects, but I can't remove the dark properties of the pill. I mean that it can be destroyed if we burn it or use other means. What I mean is that even after casting my divinity on it, this pill will have the same effect if we take it. Is it too difficult to handle?" "No, it's not that surprising. After all, you can't just turn poison into elixir just because you want to." "What surprises me are the ingredients in the pill," Alex replied, staring at the pinch. "The pill feels solid, but at the same time, it is intangible. Just like how mana when highly condensed turns into mana water and then solidifies to form mana rock, this seems to be a condensed mass of darkness along with some other herbs that make it difficult to analyze the component." After a moment of thought, Alex asked Raya to hold it. Raya followed Alex's words and touched the powder on the table. Under Alex's solemn gaze, Alex noticed another strange thing. The dark air tainted by the pill began to be absorbed by Raya. "It stings," Raya muttered with an uneasy expression. Seeing that it didn't affect her, Alex decided to move forward a little further. The step forward involved a huge risk that might have an unwanted effect on Raya. Raya looked at Alex with a sympathetic gaze as she could sense what Alex wanted to convey. "You want me to take it but you fear the consequences," Raya muttered as she showed a seductive smile. "I can even take poison if you order me to. I think we should stop for now," Alex muttered as he calmed down. There was no need to take any unwanted risks. He decided to use his dark mode and swallow the pill to see the effect, but in the middle of his thoughts, Raya's hands moved quickly and he swallowed a bit of the crushed pill. "Raya!" Alex shouted with a horrified expression and stood up. Raya closed her eyes and her expression distorted, causing Alex's heart to skip a beat. It's too bitter." "Gross." Alex's eyes fluttered and he blinked, wondering what was going on. Raya glared at him and shouted, "Why are you staring at me like that when you don't like bitter things either?" Raya's expression was still tense as if she had met her nemesis. "Oh, okay. I understand." Alex grabbed a glass of water and passed it to Raya and made her sit down. Alex squatted down and held her hands as he watched Raya. "Did you feel anything different after calming down and getting rid of the bitter aftertaste?" Raya closed her eyes and felt her mana. A moment passed and Alex didn't speak and just looked at Raya with a solemn look. "I see," Raya spoke after a while. "The pill clouds the mind and turns it into strange creatures, but for that creature of darkness it's similar to the drug that gives it a little push. Although the effect is insignificant, I can feel the urge to fight back to overwhelm me. My senses had been heightened, but it was rather insignificant since I only took a small portion." Alex's face turned pale as he listened to her. In the end, it was a drug that could change many things. The world's species could be affected and harm their people, while the other side gets a huge boost and can overpower the enemies. A drug with two effects. That bastard of an organization had many hands and trump cards. Where did such maniacal researchers get them from? Alex's body shuddered in fear as he wondered about the sheer number of living beings they had sacrificed to develop this kind of threat. We should consider ourselves lucky that we were able to discover this pill, otherwise we would have suffered greatly in the future. Now, we need to find a way to deal with it. Alex nodded with a blank look, thinking about what awaited them in the future. Chapter 427, Tell me, how do you want to die? Alex kept the matter of the pill at bay and decided to focus on his main objective. Wearing elegant noble attire, Alex and his men arrived before the group of Lockhart merchants. The main building was not tall but rather wide, giving the initial impression that it looked more like a museum or an art gallery. The huge carriages stored in the park seemed to shout about a person's status, and many of them belonged to Lockhart. In the face of all this, Alex's carriage looked rickety and poor. Alex stepped out and headed towards the building. Alex was stopped at the door and searched. "You must be Rex Hart." "Yes, I am." The man searched Alex and recorded his mana signature along with others for identification purposes. A few moments later, a man appeared and greeted them. "I am Joe Morrill and I will be your guide today. I will lead you to the president once the right time comes." Walking through the hallway under an unpleasant gaze made him feel a little uncomfortable. Entering such a large conglomerate, which leads the world's wealth, was like a blessing, and only wealthy figures could enter here. So upon seeing him, many would already start to wonder who he was. It wasn't that they were ridiculing him, but rather looking for future gains. If he turned out to be a rich guy, it wouldn't be bad to behave humbly and ask for a deal. "Sir, only you can enter from here." Alex nodded and looked at the others to stay back. "Raya, you can go shopping. You can take anything you want," Alex said with a smile. "I will," Raya said with a mischievous smile. After all, in a way, wasn't this all going to be Alex soon? Led by the man, Alex walked through the exhibition room. Behind the transparent glass were weapons, armor, magic stones, artifacts, and much more. Seeing the glint in Alex's eyes, Joe asked, "Perhaps you are interested in any of these things?" "Yes, these things are going to be auctioned. You will be able to buy them there." Joe stood in front of the door, opened it, and asked, "Please come in." Alex looked curiously at the door. Shouldn't the president be surrounded by many security guards? "It seems they want to play with me." Alex walked in and was greeted by a disgusting man with a short beard who looked at him with cloudy eyes. "Shut up. Please wait a moment," he yawned, took out a cigarette, and tried to light it. His movements were slow due to drowsiness. After picking it up and taking a few puffs, he seemed to feel refreshed. Alex froze in front of the man and stared at him with a frown. The president who is in charge of the Lockhart Merchant of Arkham Group can do this lousy? The thought struck his mind. He looked at the room that was messy and reeked of smoke. There weren't many things on the table except a small bowl to throw away the used cigarette. "Hello, I'm Rex, please take a seat." Alex was interrupted halfway by the man who didn't even introduce himself. "Listen, Mr. Rex, I'll get straight to the point. Your business proposal is good, but it's not so fancy that it would make someone scream to participate." The man leaned his body, took out a document and handed it to Alex. "We'll keep 90% and the remaining 10% is yours." "Are you kidding me?" Alex asked with a surprised expression. "The risks are mine, 60% of the investment is mine, the work will be done by me, and you want me to hand it all over to you? Am I signing a business contract or a slavery contract?" The man clicked his tongue and took out the cigarette with an annoyed look. "Listen, peasant. This is how things are done here. Even 10% is fine with you. Aren't you just a mudslinging villager? What do you want so much money for? Are you the president here?" Alex asked, suppressing his anger. "No, he doesn't deal with the mistakes. I didn't think your business was lucrative enough to send him the request." "I see, I was right about that," Alex muttered slowly and covered his face and sighed deeply. The man sneered as he saw Alex's expression. "Did you think of yourself as a sexy celebrity who would be worshipped?" Whistle. In an instant, the surrounding air began to churn under heavy pressure. Alex wasn't angry at the humiliation, rather he was disgusted by the scum working in a place where his wife gave her heart and soul. If he wanted to, he could just kidnap the president and settle things, but many mythic rancors are here. His enraged strength is enough to cross the border, but the only thing that has kept him here is to help the poor people of Arkham. That is also one of the purposes he was here for, but it was quite disheartening that a mistake had ruined his mood. A heavy pressure fell on the man and froze his entire body. The man was at the epic rank and tried to pour all his mana into getting out of there. "Who are you? Weren't you just a disciple?" he shouted and looked ahead, but his expression paled as he saw two pairs of bloody eyes staring at him, which scared the hell out of him. Mana swirled around his neck. As if an invisible hand was grabbing his neck, his body began to rise and the veins on his neck bulged as his collar was squeezed. "You humiliated me, you humiliated the hard-working villagers. Since I'm just a village bumpkin, I don't know the rules, do I?" A vicious, bloody smile covered his vision, causing his body to shudder. "Worm, let me ask you a question." A hoarse sound, as fierce as thunder, echoed in his ear and shattered his mind. "Tell me, how do you want to die?" Chapter 428, Trampling on Pride. Veins bulged all over his face starting at his neck. His face turned pale as he began to choke due to a pair of invisible hands strangling him. Bubbles began to flow from his lips. He flailed his hands and feet all over the place. He felt as if two pairs of pincers were holding his neck, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get free. His left hand stealthily moved towards the bell that could ring and send out a signal of danger, alerting the others to look for him. He thought ringing it would be the end of this person, as no matter how strong this man was, he couldn't go against the entire group of merchants on his own. However, his sweet moment of hope was shattered. Bang! The small bell exploded and flew crashing into the walls. "Pretty tricks don't work on my bug." His eyes widened as the entire room suddenly went dark, leaving only two bright red lights in front of him. He could see it. He could feel it. There was no doubt about it. It was the towering figure of death sitting in front of him with a twisted, evil smile as the scythe of death was pressed against his neck with no way to get it off. Desperate, he tried to plead with the person he had slighted. "Please, forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm sorry." Alex didn't kill him and simply enjoyed watching the man begging for mercy. The man started squealing like a pig and his eyes burst into tears. Gurgle. Gurgle. The man was about to lose consciousness and was about to receive the ticket to hell. Thud. The man's body fell to the ground with a thud. Ha-ha-ha, ha-ha-ha. As if he was smoking, he greedily inhaled the air to free himself from suffocation, but stopped when he felt the man's gaze. They looked at him with disdain, as if his worth couldn't even compare to that of a worm. "You don't deserve mercy," Alex muttered, taking out a badge from his pocket and tossing it to him. It was made with gold as a base with many precious gems decorated on it with Lockhart's symbol. Alex crossed his legs, tapped the armrest and spoke arrogantly. 5 minutes. I want the president to see this in 5 minutes. I don't care how he does it. Will you take it personally or through your subordinate? I don't care. I just want this matter to be on the president's table in 5 minutes. Otherwise, you will die. And a very horrible one at that. When your soul leaves the body, he will shudder in fear at the sight of the state of the corpse. Believe me, when I say I will kill you, it means that no one in the world could save you. His body shuddered and he almost wet his pants in fear. All the hair on his body stood up and tears fell from his eyes like a waterfall. Alex's words rang like a death knell in his ears, and without wasting any time, he stood up and moved towards the insignia but stumbled due to his shaky legs. What are you doing? Alex asked curiously. I'll take this to the president, the man replied. I don't have any servants. And you think I'm easy to fool? You're going to take it yourself and run away. Do you think I'm an idiot? Ask your men to take this quickly and you'll have already wasted a minute of your time, Alex said, much to the man's horror. I'll do as you say, the man said with a shiver and called his assistant. Joe, who was outside the door, was feeling rather strange and uneasy. Inside the room, there was a meeting going on, but strangely enough, it was too quiet. He couldn't hear a single noise coming from inside. If he had known what was inside, he would have fled the place already. No, he may even leave the entire city in fear. Spike. Joe's eyes narrowed at the sound of the doorbell and he immediately entered. The sight of Horn sitting stiff-faced and drenched in sweat greeted him. Joe, please take this box to the president. Tell him that it is a very important matter and we need his approval as soon as possible. So ask him to open it quickly and give his approval. Go quickly and don't waste a moment. Joe noticed Harm's pleading look and understood that something had gone wrong, so he grabbed the box and quickly ran out. Joe entered the president's suite and was stopped by the guards. I am Joe, Sir Horn's assistant. We have an urgent matter that requires the president's immediate approval. The president is busy, so please address the vice president, the guard said in a stern tone. I can't do it. This requires the president's decision. The guards looked at each other wondering what to do. Did you forget the important thing about Lockhart? Learn to analyze the situation. We can't waste this golden opportunity that was presented to us thanks to the blessing. Are you going to take responsibility if this matter goes to another merchant group and we lose our position? Joe's words made the guards' hearts waver, as they would be severely implemented if it was something they needed to deal with. Seeing his gaze, Joe pressed even harder and implied that they were going to miss out on a great opportunity. Under his relentless pursuit, the guards finally gave in. I'll go report to the president. After a few moments, the guard appeared with a pale look and spoke. Joe, you can go, but if the president doesn't think the situation is as urgent as you mentioned, you and Sir Horn will be dismissed. Joe's hands holding the box trembled and he gulped. He could only believe Harm's words now. Joe walked in and greeted the person. President Zach, please take a look at what's inside the box, Joe muttered and put the box away. Zach didn't speak and just stared at Joe with a scrutinizing gaze. He took the box and opened it. He was an old man in his 70s and had seen all sorts of things in the world to the point that he had become numb to riches. However, his eyes widened as soon as he saw the thing inside the box. The golden light reflected off the insignia blinded him and startled him greatly. Where's the man who brought you? He shouted and stood up from his seat. Sir, he's meeting Horn. Take me to him quickly, sir. Joey felt as if he had heard something wrong. Shouldn't I tell him to take him to me? Fool, don't waste our precious time and guide me quickly. Joe nodded and followed his words. Zach entered Horn's office and his eyes fell on the person sitting across from him who looked a little different from what he knew. Horn stood up and greeted him but was surprised to see Zach's reaction upon seeing Alex while the latter didn't even greet him but stared at him instead. Zach felt that Alex seemed to be in a bad mood and quickly kicked Horn out. Sir Alex, nice to meet you. I never imagined I would meet you this way, Zach said in a polite tone. Alex nodded briefly and said, it's the same with me. Let's leave the jokes aside. I need your help. I want to talk to my wife, so I need your communication channel. Alex spoke up and gave a brief rundown of the situation. Sure, why not? Take it. By the way, make sure that bastard Horn doesn't get away, okay? Zach took out a monocommunicator stone channel and placed it in front of Alex. Will it connect directly to Yvonne or her managers who are forwarding the channel to her? It will take you directly to her, Zach replied. Alex took it and called out to Yvonne with great anticipation. His heart felt uneasy thinking about Yvonne and the others. After so many days, he could finally talk and take a look at them. He felt like he was a thirsty man who had found the source of water in the vast desert. However, buzz, buzz. The communication rang and kept ringing until it stopped. Silence. An awkward silence and a heavy pressure lingered in the room. Alex frowned and said, "Maybe she's busy. Let's dial her again." Buzz, buzz. After the fifth ring, the call was finally picked up, brightening Alex's expression. "But, Zach, I'm busy right now. I'll call you later." With a few words, the call was cut off, leaving Alex and Zach frozen like a statue. Alex, for the first time since his birth, felt that his dignity of being a man was trampled on, and it was done so mercilessly. Chapter 429, Moment of Relief. Within the span of a second, Alex's jaw opened and closed countless times. He looked at Zach with a bewildered look and asked, "Does this happen every time?" Zach cringes a little after witnessing Alex's expression. He felt like he was directly thrust into the dispute between two couples. No, maybe Lady Yvonne had another job. She always answers the call and listens to her words. Zach tried to calm Alex down. Call her over and over again until she picks up out of frustration. If she does, use other channels to make the call. Ask the president of other places to call. I want to talk to her now. Every time the call was picked up, the image of both sides was displayed. That was why he felt hurt too. Yvonne might have seen him, but she didn't recognize him and cut the call. Maybe she hadn't even seen him because she cut the call too quickly, but be that as it may, maybe he felt a little hurt. Zach, his hands sweating, began his mission of being a stalker who called again and again. Buzz, 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 buzz. An important meeting was taking place at Leonhardt, with many key personalities taking part. At a large round table, one side was occupied by Catherine, Yvonne, Athena and Christina. On the other side, Count Bassi, Mordurk, Lammertbird, Count Steelwall. Even the chief of the Wolfman tribe from Peru and the chief of the Orcs from Castle were also present. All of them gathered together to review the recent affairs of the current Leonhardt and make necessary amendments if necessary. The tense atmosphere in the room was interrupted by a repeated buzzing sound coming from Yvonne's side. Yvonne felt embarrassed for a moment and was seething with rage. What's wrong with this idiot? He keeps calling me over and over even though I cut his hair. Does he have a hole in his head, or did he want to get fired from his job? Usually, it was her assistant who carried this, but with all the problems popping up, Alex suggested saving this for herself so that she could respond to an immediate crisis, which could also prevent any disaster in case her assistant betrayed her for some reason. The presidents from other places were also making the calls. Catherine sighed and said, "Yvonne, answer the call. In the meantime, let's take a break." "Yes, Your Highness." The other nodded and started to walk out. Gritting her teeth, Yvonne pulled him out and received the call. On the screen, Zach appeared next to an anonymous dark-haired, blurry-faced man who looks quite familiar but also unfamiliar. If it were any other case, maybe she would have recognized him, but she was a bit overcome with anger, and one of her bad habits was to lose her temper easily. "Zach, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you bothering me, and who is this asshole? Is he the reason for all your stupidity?" The anonymous man looked Yvonne in the face with a cold expression and said, "Did you call me an asshole? Just because I left you all for 2 months, did you forget me, or did you think I had died and you could do whatever you wanted?" Athena, who was taking a sip of iced coffee on the other side while savoring the taste, suddenly choked. PFFT. The coffee splashed directly on Catherine's face. Catherine's eyes widened, and before she could speak, Athena jumped up like a silly child and shouted, "Alex, is that you?" "Hey." A deep silence lasted for a moment following a loud burst of shock. Yvonne closed her mouth instinctively. Her brain suddenly short-circuited due to shock. She didn't know if this was due to the shock of seeing him or the fear of calling him out and cursing him out. Seeing his bad mood, Yvonne was sure that this guy would collect the debt from her with 10 times the interest at the next meeting. Alex felt a lump in his throat and couldn't speak. He stared at his wife's reaction, which calmed his heart. Worry, concern, fear, trepidation, anguish. He could see many emotions on their faces, but at the same time, he could see all the negative feelings slowly and steadily disappearing. "Lol. Alex, do you look sexy with black hair?" Athena spoke while jumping like a fan. Athena's words brought another round of silence, and the other four looked away. Catherine turned her head away, blushing, and waved her hand as if to cool herself off. Although she didn't say anything, she agreed perfectly with Athena. It would be a lie if she said she didn't like her appearance. Christina noticed Catherine's strange expression and handed her a handkerchief. "I don't need it. It's not that hot," Catherine said. "I think it's better to wipe your face." Catherine lowered her head in embarrassment and pulled the handkerchief. Meanwhile, on the other side, Alex was coughing a little. Thank you, Athena. You look beautiful too. No, in fact, each of my wives is a fairy descended from heaven created especially for me to protect. He raised his chin proudly, but his smugness disappeared when his gaze caught a thorn on the other side. Zach can give me some private space. Yes, of course, sir. And he also calls Raya. She's currently called Priya, so keep that in mind. After Zach left, his eyes settled on his wife. How is everyone? And Yvonne, don't think too much. It was just a joke. I'm not angry with you, rather I'm very happy and proud that you have a channel that helped me get in touch with you. I owe you a lot. Alex tasting the chalice. It's true that they don't look well. Because of their restlessness, they haven't taken good care of their health. We're fine, don't worry about us. Tell us how your end was. Catherine spoke. Yes, Alex is telling us everything honestly. It seemed like you were under a lot of pressure, Athena said in a worried tone. Alex smiled and shook his head. After what happened in the war, it would be strange if I didn't worry. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 430, Heartfelt Talk. Alex, can you tell us what happened there? We need details, since no one knows where you are. The situation isn't too good for you. Shen is trying to finish off the survivors who managed to escape the calamity, Catherine said. I expected that from that piece of shit. Things wouldn't have turned out like this if he had informed the capital, Alex said in disgust. Creak. The door opened as Raya walked in, and as soon as she saw her sister, she gave her a pleasant smile and engaged in casual chit-chat, after which Alex began narrating the events. They noticed Alex's expression as she recounted it. Raya's body trembled as she recalled that experience while Alex's hand tightly gripped the armrest of the chair, causing it to break into pieces. His wives were horrified and lost their composure upon hearing the story. Alex also told them everything he had experienced up until that point in Arkham. From the encounter with the Dark Elf to the Dark Pill and the drought condition. I can't believe Arkham is in such a pathetic state. I've heard about them from my people and it's 100 times worse when you describe it, Yvonne said with a frown. That's because the people here don't go out into the farmlands. The lands near the capital city and under the control of the senior nobles are fine as the miasma was quickly cleared away, but other regions such as scattered villages and towns have no means of communicating and were quickly taken over. Did you encounter any undead? Athena asked. Alex shook his head and said, this miasma is corrupting living beings and not turning them into undead. The main problem is that it takes away their vitality. Even if the lands are purified, they lose their fertility, and because they remain on them for an extended period of time, it has crept deep into the crust. That means you haven't encountered any undead, Christina said in disbelief. The undead were like pests that jumped and crawled like ants in large numbers. If the undead were wreaking havoc on Arkham, Arkham had no way to rise up. Facing attacks from undead and demons would have already led to their doom. We've gotten a bit off topic. So, let's move on. Alex stopped the conversation from drifting to another topic. Alex tapped on the desk where people were talking, giving everyone a feeling of unease. His personality seemed to have changed. From his initial calm expression, he now looks more like a demon. The borders are sealed by the demons and they were likely to spread miasma and start advancing. It's been a while since the demons took over, so what response is Kinley going to take? The four on the other side looked at each other wondering who would go first. Finally, Christina stepped forward. In a month and a half, Kinley is going to attack with full force. James and Hex are in charge of leading the troops. Alex's eyebrows furrowed with a strange expression. A month and a half? What the hell? Why are they waiting a month to attack? Shouldn't there be an immediate response? Everyone noticed Alex's grim expression. There are many reasons, Yvonne muttered. They are waiting for Arkham to organize their forces. Kinley and Arkham had come to some sort of agreement that we are not aware of. The second we owe to the church, Athena began to explain. The demons are not the main problem, it is the miasma. The demons are not affected by it and could also control those who are affected. To cleanse it, they must use their power to control the demons who are affected. In one go, we need a large number of people from the church, and since most of the church are non-combatants, we need people to protect them. Our paladins might not be enough. which is why Kinley has called in other troops from the kingdom to protect them. I'm not surprised to learn that the demons are unaffected, but I am surprised that they can control those affected. It's strange, but after hearing the Dark Elves' words, it seems that the demons are worshipping the god of darkness, Alex concluded. The situation is getting complicated, Catherine muttered. Wait? Does Arkham have enough manpower to attack the border right now? Ridia said with a confused expression. Alex shook his head and said, no, they don't have that luxury. At present, they are filled with anger and want revenge. They couldn't defeat the demons on the northern side, but with Kinley's support they were at least able to calm their anger at the border. This is why I believe one should not get involved in international affairs or politics. It's troublesome to fight in war. Alex spoke with a sigh. You're just saying this. But you're the one who's most excited to run around the battlefield, Catherine snorted. You're accusing and slandering me. I'm gentle. You're the gentleman when it comes to the beast, Yvonne added. Alex almost choked on her words and they stared at each other then burst out laughing. After laughing for a bit, Alex informed them of her plans. Did our kingdom also receive the call? Yes, we were asked to send 500 men to the coalition forces, Catherine replied. Then I'll try to infiltrate Arkham's forces and try to fight my way through to the other side. Will you be okay? All of his wives asked him at the same time with displeased expressions. If it had been before, Alex would have been able to say yes for sure, but now he didn't know. What if another supreme ranker appeared on the battlefield? With vast miasma acting as fuel, Alex might be able to enter dark mode, but even so, he wasn't sure he could defeat him. Last time, he was able to steal blessings and divinity from the worshippers of the god of darkness, but he might not be so lucky this time. Alex masked his uneasiness and said, Don't worry, I'll be fine. Now that I have this, we'll continue to communicate. So now everyone should rest and prepare for the next battle. I'll get to the other side even if I have to dig through a sea full of corpses, Alex assures them in a chilling tone that instantly terrifies them and at the same time fills their hearts with hope. Chapter 431, Tying Up Loose Ends. Alex sat on the sofa while Harm stood in front of him and was sweating profusely. Alex's gaze seemed to dig holes into his body. And sadly, he wasn't the only one. Besides him, many remained standing with their heads lowered. At the side, Zack stood with an anxious expression. After their cordial chat, Zack let Alex reside in the presidential room, which can only be accessed with Yvonne's permission. His men had also been accommodated in a nice place to stay. Since he was here, Alex decided to take matters into his own hands and tie up the loose ends here. Alex asked Zack to look through all the transactions and deals that had been made recently. When Alex asked about the profit rate, Zack said that the highest profit they had made was 60%, so why on earth did they ask him to give 90%? Things that couldn't be easily ignored were uncovered in the investigation. Alex turned his gaze towards the group of people and asked, Do you think the money from the Lockhart Merchant Group was something your family left you? Do you think this group was founded by your parents and you can do whatever you please? It seems to me that the arrogance of working here has gone unnoticed by you, Trash, and even Trash has more value than all of you. You forced people to sign an agreement to give you 80% of their profits and from that amount you were bold enough to take a significant portion for your own account, bastards. Tell me, where the hell did you get the courage from? Alex roared in anger, causing the entire place to shake. Sir, sorry for interrupting you, the man beside Zack spoke in a trembling voice. Alex looked at Sin, who was Zack's assistant, and asked him to speak. Sin stared at the group of fugitives and said, Sir, it seems that these people not only accumulated a large amount of money, but they also took over the business in your name using Lockhart's money. Zack's expression hardened upon hearing this. He felt Alex's irritated gaze, causing him to lower his head even further in fear. He felt that he was truly an incompetent person. The atmosphere froze and except for the sound of breathing everything seemed to cease for a moment. Alex's face distorted with extreme annoyance. Harm and the men around him suddenly felt assaulted by a suffocating pressure. Harm, who knew what was going on, suddenly fell to his knees and begged, Please forgive me, sir. I swear in the name of the goddess that I will return every penny I have taken. Please spare the life of this useless insect. It's good that you're lucky enough to understand your fault, Alex said with a smile. But don't you think it's too late already? Besides, if I forgive you, what will I say to Lady Yvonne, who has tasked me with dealing with cockroaches like you? Hey, don't touch me. I work for a noble. No matter how strong you are, you can't touch the noble's people. Alex raised his eyebrows and stared at the man. Ha ha ha, what happened? Do you regret it now? Did all the money go to the nobility? You should be happy to donate it all to a noble cause. Ha ha ha. Just touch me if you dare, touch me. Boom. The man's body exploded into pieces, scattering blood and chunks of flesh everywhere. The others stood there in horror and fell to their knees with a bewildered look. Their strength left them as they saw the man beside them dead as a fly. As everyone stared at the spot where the man who was barking madly was, they heard his voice. It's better to get rid of a mad dog before it bites you. Mikado was inspecting an artifact, but something went wrong and it exploded, killing him. Everyone here is a witness, isn't that right? Alex asked with a sinister smile that sent shivers down everyone who spoke. Do you agree with me, or are there more people who want to die from the explosion of an unknown artifact? The body of the people on the ground shook at the sight of the blood on their clothes, and they looked at the man who was smiling happily as if it was nothing to him. Even Zack was perplexed. His heart was pounding in fear that the demon might actually kill him if he peed on him. At that moment one managed to calm down and shouted, "Yes, that person died due to an unfortunate event. I have witnessed with my own eyes that the device exploded due to improper handling. Wow, a resourceful guy. I like you." Alex applauded the man's dignified performance. "Now, all of you," Alex spoke and raised his left hand. Sin stepped forward and handed him a stack of papers. Alex held it and threw it forward. As if controlled, the paper flew out and landed before everyone in an orderly manner. "I'll give you a chance. Sign it and 80% of all your property, consisting of land, businesses, and houses, will now belong to Lockhart. Don't think that 20% is free. In order to keep the rest of the wealth, I want detailed proof of the shady transaction you have with the nobles. Do you understand?" The voices of the people quieted down and they looked at Alex with inexplicable expressions. They all wanted to refute, but they felt like a sword was hanging over their heads. A single word could send them to the afterlife. Noticing their dilemma, Alex decided to give them one last push. "There's another offer as well. Keep 20% and give the details about the noble, or keep 100% and just do as I say. We can keep all our stuff. What do you want me to do? I swear on my name that I will do anything you want." All of their eyes were shining with greed and they were trying to catch the last thread of hope. The task may be difficult, but at least they will be able to keep all of their hard-earned money. "Cuck!" Alex burst out laughing at the sight of the pathetic piece of trash. "Some people don't change no matter how many chances they are given. I like your guts and courage. You've made me happy. You can keep all of your money, but for that, you have to die, you morons." Alex's words rang like thunder in their ears as they woke up from their sweet dreams. The words choked in their throats and their eyes sank in a sense of sadness. Zack, who was at the side, felt his heart skip a beat after witnessing the scene. Demon. He's worse than a demon. He's far scarier than the rumors describe. I must make sure that he doesn't dislike me. We'll accept the previous deal. We'll do as you say, just don't kill us. Alex's lips curved upwards with an amused expression and he agreed with his words. The people sighed in relief thinking that they could be saved, but they didn't know that they had just fallen into a huge trap. Chapter 432, Isn't this a scam? Alex slumped onto the couch after dealing with troublesome things. He was able to remove the black roots from the upper echelon of the Lockhart merchant group, but who knows how many moles there might be inside that needed cleaning. "I need to ask Riaya to give me a shoulder massage." Zack, who stood still after everyone left, coughed a little and asked, "Will you let them after this? And what will you do with the things you asked for?" Zack still doubted that Alex would have let them live. The look of anger in her eyes when she found out about his story was enough to kill them 1,000 times over. Yvonne's face appeared on his face. He wondered what she would do when she found out about the betrayal. Will she feel heartbroken and sad? I don't think so. As far as Alex knew, Yvonne would surely find a way to turn things around in her favor. "I'll let them lie for now, and for the nobles, those things will be useful to us in the future," Alex said with a wicked smile. "By the way, why are you standing there like a statue? Have a seat. It is your office after all." "No, it's not mine. Everything is yours. I'm just a servant," Zack said hurriedly, scared. "Who knows what will happen if I say it's mine? My head might actually fly off." Alex narrowed his eyes and felt like he might have terrified this man without knowing it. "I order you as your master to sit down." Zack nodded and immediately sat down in front of Alex. Ailes leaned down and his expression turned serious. "Zack, the next thing we're going to do is help Arkham recover." Zack shuddered a little, wondering what he was going to do now. Alex took out his ring and placed it on the table. "There are the corpses of the Dark Beast. You can sell them at the market or give them to the royal family. The corpses affected by the darkness are quite valuable, and the royalty needs them more than ever to discover something. And now let me show you what will make the miracle happen. Alex took out a small vial and placed it in front of Zach. Zach looked at it intently to the point that he felt like his eyes were going to pop out of their sockets. But then he frowned as he felt that what was inside was nothing more than plain water. "Can I take a look?" Zach asked. "Sure." Zach opened it and squeezed out a few drops onto his palm, and his expression hardened when he saw that it was water. "Are you talking about this?" "Yes, this is a miracle." "Yes." Zach looked at Alex's blank expression and thought as if she was joking with him and said, "Isn't this just water?" "This isn't just any water, it's holy water," Alex corrected. "Holy water? Why do we need holy water? Isn't it a very common thing?" "Tisk." Alex clicked his tongue and spoke. "The strength of the holy water depends on who blessed it. Normal priests and clerics blessed with water are much worse than senior bishops and others. The Pope and saints' holy water is of top quality, but since they don't make it, we're going to make it ourselves. This holy water is blessed by me and is one of the strongest blessed waters," Alex said with a serious face. He wasn't lying about this. Only Pope and Athena can get better grades than him. However, he didn't know anything about the chief saint. Alex could also compare to them once he ranks up. "Okay, I understand. But what are we going to do about this?" "Listen carefully to my words, Zach. Arkham deals with a miasma, but not the side effects. Simply dispelling and purifying the miasma isn't enough. The lands need to be taken care of after they are dispersed, otherwise they would become a waste. A very strong divinity is needed to neutralize all the effects of the miasma. When Alex purified her kingdoms previously, the land's production decreased, but Athena took care of it. Athena's purification was so strong that the sprouts grew into trees and flowers bloomed at the same time when she cast the purification. Arkham had neglected the thing before, which is why the situation is like this. With the demons rampaging and all sorts of problems arising, they couldn't focus on this. If there was just one person who could figure it out, the situation would be different. The Pope and the Holy Mother are in the church near the neutral zone, which is near the Inanno Rocky Mountains, and that's where we come to the rescue," Alex said with a smile. "We sell this. We mix it with other watery substances and ask them to water the crops and plants, and we'll see the immediate effects." The effect of the miasma penetrated deep into the surface of the soil that needed to be purified, but the purification done by the church's clergy only covers the surface, so the things underneath are left out. The holy water would seep into the soil and take care of the things inside. "That means we're going to sell holy water," Zach muttered, evaluating Alex's words. And then he shouted, "But if we do this we'll face a severe backlash. Isn't this a scam? Who said we'd sell holy water? Name this golden water, a natural fertilizer that would increase productivity. We're also going to mix in other things to make it golden in color. Its price should stay around a copper coin, allowing everyone to buy it." He also sells some fertilizer and tries to spread it all over Arkham. "One drop from the jar is enough to use with 50 liters of water, sir. Will it be okay for us to do this?" Zach spoke with a frown. "We might attract too much attention this way, sir," Zach asked. "We can't help it. It's fine as long as the people we attract are good, but it's also fine if we attract a few bad apples and dig them up." Chapter 433, Another Absurd Oracle. A storm that came out of nowhere and swept through all Arkham. It was due to certain rumors that spread like wildfire at an astonishing rate. At first, many people believed it to be a rumor and were skeptical about it. But it was precisely that skepticism that piqued their interest and forced them to try out what soon became famous. Golden water. A product introduced by Lockhart's merchant groups that claimed to help make the land fertile and increase productivity. And the surprising thing was that Lockhart had sent out all of his staff to carry out the trade. Carts loaded with golden water were transported to villages and farmlands that were previously affected by miasma. Some even discovered that golden water was capable of dispelling miasma and curing people who were affected by it and showed initial symptoms of fatigue and loss of vitality. As the product gained popularity, many sought out the Lockhart group to strike some sort of deal, while many knocked on their door to find out what it was all about. It was a matter of national importance and many wanted to know the secret, but all they got as an answer was that it was made with various kinds of chemicals invented by someone. People wanted to meet the person who came with many eye-catching offers, but Lockhart rejected them. Some tried to use the spies infiltrated in the organization to get information, but they got nothing. There were also various criticisms that Lockhart had developed this thing quite early, But instead of helping others during the previous time of crisis, he was trying to plunder the people by introducing it later. Those people who had been clinging to a thin thread of hope, wishing for a miracle to happen that would get them out of the crisis, finally spilled their guts. Tears of joy came to the surface as the desert turned into barren lands after a while and finally showed signs of vegetation. Of course, many felt strange and worried about the change as they found it quite unpleasant. The falcons that were waiting for a chance to overthrow the royals found themselves in a deep pit, so they tried to target the person. The nobles complained about the identity of the person and tried to investigate it. Assassins were sent out to find out more about that person. But unfortunately, so far no one had managed to come out alive. So everything remained a secret. At a certain place, the silhouette of a man appeared as he looked at the vast plains before him. He had an inexplicable expression as he looked at the scene before him. His eyes were a little moist and he gained new strength as he saw the crops growing on that land. The demons were cruel enough to attack and destroy the backbone of his empire. The destruction of the farmlands had forced them to put up resistance on empty stomachs, which had gradually weakened their state. Sigh. I can't believe this is over. It seems as if we have finally woken up from this hellish nightmare. What I feel right now is not something that can be described with mere words, sir. What are we going to do next? We have already gotten rid of the people who have taken those weird drugs, Wilford said. The masked happy expression changed when he heard about the unpleasant thing again. They were able to take care of 3 people, but unfortunately they were late for one case, and by the time they reached the farm, half of the town had been destroyed. Although we have taken care of 4, the first case of Lunar City still makes me uneasy. We couldn't find anything. During the 3rd, we ran into the elves. The masked man spoke. Sir, should we report this matter to His Majesty? The masked man narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment. He closed his eyes and felt the gentle winds caressing him. As he drowned in deep thoughts while relaxing his body, a certain memory appeared in his mind. 6 days ago, a person from the church visited them and told them that the oracle had received a new revelation. The key to unlock the lock of tragedy lies in the heart of Arkham. If the first revelation they received was vague, this one was quite absurd, and it gives everyone a deep headache. It was not only absurd, but rather misleading. The second prince tried to analyze and decipher the first revelation in his own way and waged a war against Kinley that led to a horrendous outcome. Not only did it turn out to be a complex failure, but a huge number of soldiers and a significant portion of his army lost their lives. But he felt as if he had somehow received a clue when Lockhart presented the golden water. The key to unlock it resided in the heart of Arkham. Opening his eyes, he muttered the words repeatedly as he looked at the blue sky. Wilford, has Lockhart revealed anything so far about the golden water? I'm sure many have already wondered about this, so what was your response? He asked. Lockhart kept his mouth shut and said that they had signed a treaty with a person to not reveal their identity. I'm surprised by one thing. Those greedy merchants are selling this at a very low price, to the point that even an ordinary man could afford it. Though they do need a large amount of it to mix it with enough water to irrigate their farmlands. You're right, Wilford. It is certainly strange for Lockhart to serve the people, and since they belong to Kinley, who we waged war against, I thought they would slow down the trade of weapons and artifacts in exchange for revenge. The masked man spoke with a smile. Wilford, it seems we need to pay them a visit and show our gratitude for selling such a wonderful thing. Chapter 434, Deadweight Giant Sword. Zack walked inside the underground place from where faint tremors were transmitted through the surface. A huge stone door appeared, and as he entered, the sight of a man wielding a large sword was reflected in his eyes. Inside a huge hallway made with a sturdy and reinforced wall, a single man stood training. Swish. 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 Gales swept through the place and hit the wall, making it shake. A surging mana similar to volcano eruption was transmitted to him and almost pushed him back a few steps. Zack's robes fluttered due to the strong winds. In a hoarse voice, he wanted to talk about something, but a shadow appeared beside him and asked him to stop. Don't disturb him now, Rydia said in a light whisper. Zack closed his lips and watched Ale silently. Alex was using an artifact known as the Deadweight Sword. As the name suggests, it was a dead weight, meaning it was quite heavy for normal people to use, and the more mana was put into it, the heavier it became. One of the buyers unknowingly tried to carry it away and caused the entire floor to crack due to the weight. Not only was it heavy, but it was also dull. It had no edge, which was why many considered it useless. But Alex thought it would be great to train with and deal with the undead if any case arose in the future. Sharp swords usually struck as they pierced through, and as the sword pierced through countless undead, it began to dull, so overall, dull weapons were a better choice. Alex raised a huge sword above his head and arched his back forward. Crimson mana overlapped the sword and erupted around him. The ground beneath his feet cracked due to the heavy pressure. The weight of the sword seemed to increase by several thousand in an instant. The veins on his arms bulged outwards. Alex turned his wrist and swung his sword across his body clockwise 5 times, and then repeated it counterclockwise 5 times, and kept repeating it with his right hand. After a certain interval, he repeated the same with his left and did it similarly for a few sets. His daily training was to repeat the sets 100 times. The enormous mana released by him filled the entire space, causing it to break apart. The mana he released was not wasted but recycled. As the mana filled the entire room, many magic circles on the walls glowed and absorbed the mana slowly. The mana crystals became useless pieces of decoration after being used, but they could be charged again through some methods. The mana extracted from Alex was stored and used to recharge the crystals. Zack looked at Alex's back and admired it deeply. "Her figure is a work of art," Zack muttered as he saw Alex's shapely butt with sweat pouring down like a waterfall. Cough. Cough. Riaya shuddered as she gave Zack a strange look and thought about distancing herself. Zack caught Riaya's gaze and coughed a little to shake off the uneasiness. As they watched Alex, they were captivated by the sound of a slight crack coming from Alex's wrist. Zack gulped as he saw Alex's swollen wrist. It seems like some bones were broken in Alex's wrist. Just seeing the scene brought him unbearable pain, and he wondered how that man could turn a blind eye. Bang! The deadweight sword was planted into the ground, causing the ground to tremble loudly. Alex took a deep breath and looked at the state of his body. His body was a mess. Every part of his body was screaming in pain and wanted him to rest. Even after all this, Alex didn't use any healing spells and relied on himself to recover. He turned around and was a little surprised to see Zack's expression. Riaya appeared before Alex and wrapped a towel over Alex's naked upper body while taking a few glances at his chest. Alex smiled at seeing Riaya's cute expression and asked Zack, "What brought you here? How's your training going, Sir Alex?" "It's fine. This thing helps a lot," Alex said with satisfaction and looked at the massive 2-meter-long black sword. "Sir Alex, we've run into a little problem. Is it because of the golden water?" "Yes. Who wants to dig their own grave?" Alex asked with an amused expression. "This time things are a little different. The one who came to visit us was an honorary knight from Arkham, Sir Wilford." "Oh?" Alex was surprised by the word honorary knight. Arkham provides this title to those who reach the mythic rank and became Imperial Knights. Sir Wilford said he wasn't interested in the golden water. He just wanted an audience with you. He wants to offer his gratitude while also wanting to ask you for a way to return Arkham to its previous state as quickly as possible. The distribution of golden water is still insufficient, and if this keeps up, it will take a few years for Arkham to recover, and time is what we don't have." Alex rubbed his chin, thinking for a moment and wondering if they were about to discover something. The main branch of the church and the magic tower are located in the neutral territory of Meissner, which is quite close to Rocky Mountains inhabited by dwarves, so Arkham couldn't send them a sample and get their answer so quickly. Did he come on his own or on someone else's orders? Did he come with His Majesty's order? "His Majesty wants to meet with me." "No. Is he too sick to even get up?" Wondering about the pros and cons, Alex said, "Shall we arrange the meeting?" "Are you sure about it?" Riaya asked with a surprised expression. "Yes, I'm sure of that," Alex replied with a smile. After all, supplying Gwalin with the water could also provide a chance to talk to the royalty, and this was what he was after. Schedule the meeting for tomorrow. Chapter 435, Nightmare. Knock. 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 Walking through the endless desert, a man wandered aimlessly. He didn't know what was going on or how he ended up there. He wanted to stop for a moment and think about what was going on, but he didn't have time to do so because his body wouldn't listen to his will. After wandering around a place like a wandering soul, his eyes brightened a little when he saw 2 black dots in front of him. "There are people here," he muttered to himself and increased his pace. The black dots grew larger and 2 figures appeared before him. As he got closer, his eyes widened and nearly popped out of their sockets as he took in the scene. In front of him stood a beautiful lady from another world wearing shiny knight's armor, and beneath her feet was a child who was throbbing like a worm spitting blood. "I don't want to do this anymore. It's too painful. It hurts too much. Please stop this. I want out." Don't kill me. I beg you, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me." The child was crying and sobbing pitifully, but the woman's face remained apathetic and cold. "Is it me?" Alex muttered with disbelieving eyes. The sight was quite nauseating to the point that he felt like vomiting. Before his eyes was the other Alex, whose arms were twisted, his limbs were broken to the point that his kneecap along with some bones were scattered around the place. His skin was torn, and a large gash appeared on his chest, through which even his organs could be seen. His chest was deformed and crushed, and his face had swollen beyond recognition. His only identifying feature was his long, golden blonde hair. "If that's me, then the lady must surely be the goddess of war. Stop complaining like that," the goddess of war said, and stomped on Alex's face without any shred of mercy. Bang! The face of another Alex lying there burst into pieces like a bubble, and soon his body disappeared. Alex gulped, wondering what was going on. He knew it was pathetic, but he hadn't gotten to the point of crying like that, or maybe he did at first, but what worried him was that he couldn't remember it. As his other rack disappeared, Alex noticed a scene that left his body numb. The goddess of war, whose expression he always remembered to be chilling, suddenly slumped to the ground with a deep sigh. Her eyes wavered a little and her face looked regretful and rather guilty. "I don't want to do this. My heart breaks every time I see him cry pitifully. Isn't it too much for him? How long will I have to pretend to be cruel? It would be fine if he was an enemy, but he's just a child who's trying his best to gain our recognition." The goddess of war spoke with a sad expression. "I wish I could forget about this event like you, but I guess I can't. These painful memories would become my punishment for torturing you like this, and I will have to endure it for eons to come if I survive." The goddess of war spoke with a self-deprecating smile. Alex's strength left his body and he fell to the ground. His body trembled as he witnessed a scene he could never have imagined in his life. Alex shuddered all over and a bright light shone. Alex can always talk about the hell he went through with indifference, but deep down he hates it, despises it, and more than that, he despises the goddess for putting him through all this. But the unseen sight made his anger flare up. He was the one who went through all this, so why the fuck is she acting so pitiful? Why the fuck is she saying something behind his back when she could have said it in front of him, instead of keeping the same merciless chilling gaze and staring at me like an insect? Are you seriously saying that you pity me after putting me through all this hell? Your hypocrisy knows no bounds. If you felt that way, why didn't I just say it to your face? Alex's body shot up from the bed and he screamed like a madman. Mana surged out of his body, causing the walls to crack. "Alex! Alex!" Alex heard a scream and found two pairs of arms surrounding him. Alex's body was drenched in sweat, and he stopped chattering and looked outside to find himself on the bed with Raya beside him. "Alex, it's okay, I'm here. It's just a nightmare." Alex took a deep breath and was about to mutter something but stopped. "You still can't remember the nightmare?" Raya asked in a soft tone. Alex didn't speak and wondered why this happened after so long. After returning from the goddess's shrine, he used to have nightmares every night, and surprisingly when he woke up, he couldn't remember everything he saw in his nightmare. He dismissed it initially as it stopped after spending some time with Raya and Evan, but the occurrence of something like that ruined his mood again. "I should wake up and get ready for the meeting," Alex mutters as he strokes Raya's hair to calm her down while many thoughts are running inside his head. A tense atmosphere surrounded the room prepared for the meeting. The meeting was to be held in secret, but in order for the event to be held in secret, many things needed to be taken care of. The entire Lockhart merchant was closed today for some reason, and the security around it was tightened. The guards were not patrolling in their uniforms, but instead wore casual clothes and blended in with a group of common people as they wandered around the place. Inside the room, Wilford sat with a heavy silence around him. The atmosphere was so calm and relaxing that it made him feel nauseous. To him, the situation is one of life or death. If he were to make any mistakes, his entire nation might have to suffer the consequences. Crack! After a long-awaited silence, the door opened and he saw a man with short, black, mottled hair wearing a noble attire walking towards him. His strength was rather low, and he seemed to be a researcher or an alchemist of some sort. Wilford stood up to greet him, trying to put on as sincere a smile as possible, but his brows furrowed when he saw the man's stiff expression. Alex, after making his way through, sized Wilford up from head to toe with a calm gaze, but when he bowed his head, his indifferent expression broke to the point that not even his acting skills could make up for it. Noticing Wilford's gaze, Alex coughed to ease the moment and said, "Excuse my rudeness, Sir Wilford, I was a little surprised by your charisma. You see, I only have the rank of a disciple while you are a great honorary knight whose rank cannot be comprehended by my lower self. Ha ha ha, it's fine. Wilford chuckled and raised his hand to shake it. Alex took both of their hands and shook them warmly. He's stronger than the two mythic ranked knights who accompanied Noah. The man before him might look like he was around 40 years old, but his actual age had surpassed 100. With just a jolt, Alex was able to properly understand this man's ability. He has been wandering at the peak of the mythic rank for years. There was something missing that made him unable to break through the walls and enter the saint rank, but unfortunately Alex couldn't find that thing. He could see that something wasn't right in his behavior, but Alex couldn't put his finger on it. Both internally and physically, he's ready to break through to the saint realm, but something is keeping him at bay. Alex expected this guy to only be mythic rank, but it's more than that, forcing him to tread his path carefully for now. On top of that, there was another nuisance by his side that forced him to be on guard. And this nuisance surprised more than Wilford. A nuisance that Alex had never expected to see here in this place, but in a way it could be said that it was a pleasant surprise. Chapter 436, Old Acquaintance. As Alex watched Wilford, the old man did the same. He could feel the callus on Alex's hand, and no matter how much he looked at him, he wasn't able to erase that strange feeling as if this person was hiding something. It's a pleasure to meet the savior of Arkham. You're flattering me. I'm just doing this for business. Alex laughed a little. They both separated and sat down while Wilford tilted his head slightly, which didn't go unnoticed by Alex's eyes. So why did you want to meet me? Alex asked, straight to the point. Wilford smiled and said, do you know very well why I'm here? He took a flask of golden water and put it on the small table in front of them. You said you were doing this for business. As you know, everything has a price. The recipe for these things must also have a certain price, right? Why not? The question is whether you could give me that price or not, Alex said, smiling. Wilford nodded and said, I suppose we are not the only ones who have contacted you, correct? Many might have requested an audience with you and offered you very valuable things, but you rejected them all, but accepted ours. There could be two reasons behind this. Either what you have been offered is not to your liking, or you are interested in something that only we can offer you. Alex couldn't be happier than that. Wilford noticed Alex's cheerful face and said, I don't know what you want from us in particular, but to show you how much this means, we will first offer you a noble title as a way of rewarding you. Noble title? Alex's eyes twitched slightly and he asked with a questioning look. In one of the kingdoms, not in the entire empire, and we're offering you the title of Earl. What the hell? Alex felt dizzy hearing this. Although it was quite an honor to receive a noble title, he was surprised because he didn't even have the noble title in his own country, despite being a prince before. The kingdoms of the empire are usually under the control of the nobles of the empire. It didn't reach the point of absolute control, but the kingdoms have to offer tributes to the nobles. The only thing Alex was blessed with was that his kingdom wasn't operated under the control of some noble. Alex shook his head as he felt the conversation was heading in another direction. He wants something from them, but this isn't what he wants. Alex already observed Wilford's attitude, which was full of respect and reverence, so there was no need to drag this out any further. Don't you think you're lacking in that aspect? Ale said and turned his gaze towards the window. Alex's words startled the man and he frowned when he saw Alex's gaze on the window. Did you sense something? Is it okay for that guy wearing the anonymous mask to hide there and listen to our conversation? Alex snorted. Wilford was startled by Alex's words and his heart filled with anger. Meanwhile, the masked man who was leaning on the wall beside the window with a calm expression was shocked to the point that he almost tripped and fell backwards. Wilford was about to draw his sword when he heard Alex's laughter. Calm down, Mr. Wilford. There's no need to be on alert for nonsense. Isn't this guy my best friend? Alex waved his hand at the invisible person and said, Hey, is this how you greet a friend of yours that you haven't seen in a long time? It makes me cry in sadness. The masked man's back was drenched in sweat and his brain seemed to be working, wondering what was going on. Sir Rex, what do you mean by that? Wilford spoke in a gloomy tone. Are you joking with me? I may be old, but I haven't gone senile. Alex frowned as he watched the man acting persistently. Alex's eyes flashed dangerously and he glared at the masked man and shouted, I've had enough of your stupid games. Noah, move your ass right now or I'll stab my sword into your stupid masked face. I know you're not handsome and can't compare to me, but that doesn't mean you should hide your ugly face with that shitty mask. Wilford's hands holding the sword shook and his jaw dropped wide as he wondered what was going on. Hiss. As soon as Noah pulled out the mask, His figure appeared, and he stared at the man who bears certain similarities to one of his nightmares. His voice trembled and his throat went dry as memories of the disaster began to haunt him. But he clenched his fist and asked, "Your way of speaking sounds rather familiar to me. Are you Alex?" Alex winked at him with a smile and crossed his legs. "Correct answer. Who could it be, but the glorious me? Your ability to make me angry has yet to change," Noah said disdainfully. "What are you doing here? Are you here to seek revenge? If that's the reason, then I will do everything in my power to stop you here." Alex slapped his forehead and sighed. His voice suddenly changed, which sent a chill down Noah's spine. "How many times did I tell you to stop barking like a dog? How dare you address His Highness like a dog?" Wilford shouted and pulled out his sword. "Try pulling it out and you'll know the consequences." Wilford flinched as he saw Alex's annoyed expression combined with a huge killing intent. Alex looked at Noah and said, "Who is responsible for Arkham's current situation? It's none other than me. I've been helping you all from the very beginning. I've purified the lands in my wake and helped your people. I was also the one who eliminated Count Grey, who was about to wreak havoc." "What?" Noah shouted as if he had heard the biggest joke of his life. "Sit down and drink something to refresh yourself. I'll tell you everything." Alex spoke and began to narrate the events. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 437, Old Acquaintance 2. Noah frowned after listening to Alex's narration. Most of the time he was wondering if it was true or not. Noah and Wilford felt like they had heard a ridiculous story from a con artist. Wilford, on the other hand, was trying very hard to control his emotions from getting the better of him. If it weren't for Noah's repeated reminder, he would have already raised his sword to kill this guy. After all, these men had single-handedly slaughtered many of the Empire's men. His heart was rather bitter at the moment. He felt like he was betraying his own nation just by sitting across from him. Noah took a deep breath and asked seriously, "Are you telling me that you're not messing with us? Knowing your character, I wouldn't find it strange that you've already caused a mess in Arkham and wreaked havoc on your cash register." Alex glared at him and scorned. "Is that the impression you have of me?" Noah nodded with a skeptical look. "You're right about that, but there's no reason for me to direct my anger at you, since it was that damn organization full of bastards that created this whole mess, and I want to rip that bastard to shreds." Noah cringed and blurted out, "Now you're acting like yourself. Now that I've told you my part, tell me how you made it out alive. Were you the only one, or did you save someone else?" Noah's expression faltered upon hearing Alex's question, and he clenched his fist in anger. Alex waited for Noah to organize that jumbled thought, since he could understand what he was going through now. "It's okay, Noah. I've lost a few of my men too. I don't know exactly how you felt, but I felt like I had betrayed their expectations." Wilford patted Noah, who sighed and felt a little relieved that there was someone who had gone through the same thing. "Did you remember the locket I've been carrying?" "Oh, that flower girl locket. It suits you very well." Noah controls his urges to swear and speaks, "It was a life-saving artifact only once. If I encountered a danger capable of killing me, it would teleport to the place where the other pair was being held. Luckily, my father gave it to me when I went to war and it saved my life." "Didn't your older brother receive that?" "As you know, it is." "Elder brother isn't dead," Noah interrupted Alex's words. "Your Highness, you can't." Noah raised his hand and stopped him. "It's okay. We're in the same boat now. Even though we can't trust him, I trust the goddess." Alex narrowed his eyes and asked what was going on now. As Noah spoke the oracles, veins bulged on Alex's forehead. Alex's expression looked as if he had heard of his archenemy. "Those?" Alex closed his lips to stop himself from letting out any curses. "You mean to tell me that the goddess wanted to lead you to me, but your misunderstanding caused the war? Hey, why don't I just break your skull and send it to the goddess to heal as part of the misunderstanding?" Noah's body shuddered as he felt that this guy could do that. I don't know what kind of joy it brings them to speak so bluntly. They're in a completely different league than me when it comes to talking nonsense. My elder brother is infected by some kind of strange poisoning due to the miasma and has been knocked unconscious. I see. I'll take a look at him and see if I can cure him. Thank you, Noah added after deciding to give Alex a chance. Noah, tell me. Since a powerful man attacked you and tried to kill you, why aren't the supreme rankers on your side doing anything? Shouldn't they be looking for the person who breaks the contract? Alex asked with a gloomy expression. Alex, you may not know, but all of the major human powers have had a battle recently and have all been seriously injured in that battle. Therefore, most of them are recovering right now, Noah said with a sad expression. Also, the two powers that appeared are unknown in the history of the world. We don't have any records about them and they haven't signed the treaty. After we informed them, they tried to look for them, but we couldn't find them. What can we do when we can't even find those people? I understand, Alex shook his head. Since it was related to the god of darkness, they might not even have a base in this world and could have stayed in the realm of darkness, and that could be the reason why they weren't discovered until now. We'll know more about them soon, Alex assured Noah. Now that we've already exchanged everything, please tell us what that golden water is. We need it in large quantities. We're ready to send all our forces. Now it was time for Alex to cower. He tried to avert his gaze and said in a low voice, "It's holy water." "What?" "It's expensive water." "Okay, I understand. We'll pay you a good sum." "Damn it. It's not expensive water, but holy water." Noah and Wilford's expressions crumble as if they had stepped in some kind of dog poop. "Alex, don't joke with me. It's a matter of national interests. It's holy water," Alex began to explain to Noah. "That means, except for you and Athena, we could only trust the Pope and the Supreme Saint. Even the Saint of Arkham can't be of help. Look, I haven't seen your saint, nor do I know what her level is. We need holy water of strong concentration for this. I've only spoken what I think. You can explain the problem to them and ask for their help. I use the water in this way because 80% of the clergy's purifying power can't penetrate deep into the earth." "Okay, I'll look into this matter. Now tell me what you want from us. I know, you're not doing this out of charity. Let me see your brother first, and then I'll tell you," Alex said with a wolfish grin, like a con man who was going to trick someone again. Chapter 438, Third Prince or Princess. For the next few days after meeting Noah, Alex had been spending his time too leisurely doing his things to the point that Raya and Zach began to suspect him. When Raya relayed all of this to the other four, a deep and heated discussion ensued as to what Alex's next move would be. In the end, they all came to the same thought. Alex might be about to do something suspicious after treating the first prince. There were still 25 days left until the deadline and both empires seemed to be a little uneasy. No one knows if the date will be changed since the call to send troops had already been made. Contrary to what everyone thought, Alex was really up to something. Alex sat on top of the bed and closed his eyes. All sorts of information flashed through his mind and floated inside his head. With a mark, Moss had begun to guide him to the places he wanted to visit. After traveling for many days, Moss entered a small area near a lake, and after staying there for a few days, he began to head back. "These people are running away like stupid rats." Moss seemed to be frantically returning to his home. Alex's lips curved upwards with a playful smile. "Looks like I can finally raid this place. Trash, I'm coming to get rid of all of you." Alex and Raya, under Noah's guidance, infiltrated Royal Place without any problems. It wasn't an official visit, and since Alex wanted to prevent his name from spreading everywhere, he needed to enter like a thief from a secret passage led by Wilford. "Arkham only has 3 princes? Is there really no princess?" Wilford's footsteps stopped and he gave Alex a skeptical look. Alex raised his hand and said, "I was just curious about something." "It's best that you keep your curiosity to yourself," Wilford said politely. Alex had heard rumors that the Emperor had been born a princess, but the Emperor killed her due to disliking her. Alex didn't know how much truth there was to this. "Welcome, Alex. Welcome, Lady Raya," Noah greeted the two of them. Alex and Raya greeted them and then both bowed their heads and spoke. "We greet His Imperial Majesty of Arkham." As Alex bent down on one of his knees, he raised his own to catch the man's gaze. Alex's eyes narrowed as he took in the man's appearance. Vermouth Ark, the current Emperor of Arkham, had arrived in the Saint Realm. Since the people of the Saint Realm had long lives, he should look quite young, like a man in his prime. But his appearance was rather gloomy. His face was haggard, with a scruffy bear-like expression. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes looked tired and might close at any moment. "Are you thinking about my current appearance?" Alex's body shuddered as the man came to realization and quickly refuted, "I don't dare, Your Highness." Sigh. "It's fine. What's the point of maintaining your outward appearance when my empire is falling? Noah informed me about your effort. Your help has been very great, but unfortunately, it came rather late. It may change a lot of things if it comes 2 or a month ago." We are going to fight the demons in the east, and if we lose this is the end for us. Alex sensed a sense of helplessness in his voice. It wasn't just an act to rouse his pity. Alex stared into Noah's eyes that were still burning with fire. He's not going to give up easily. Alex raised his head, stared at Vermouth and said, "This time will be different, Your Highness." Vermouth narrowed his eyes and spoke. "Why do you think that?" "It's because I will be there with your troops this time." The single sentence caused a heavy silence all around. Even Raya looked at Alex with wide eyes. Her man was too shameless. If it were anyone else, Vermouth would have scoffed and ridiculed, but seeing the man's eyes with unwavering confidence, he didn't know why he felt like he could trust this man. With trembling lips, he said, "Please save my son. This is not an order from an emperor, but a sincere plea from a father. I can't promise anything, but I will try my best. Noah, show him the way." "Yes, father." Noah led Alex to his brother Nolan's room. Alex observed the holy aura around the room and saw the priest guarding the place. "The situation seems pretty bad." Noah didn't say anything and was about to enter when he saw the door was ajar. "Is there anyone inside?" he asked in a stern voice. It was strictly forbidden for anyone to enter, so how dare you disobey orders? Noah shouted. The guard priests trembled, and when Noah opened the door, Alex saw a lady squatting near the bed with a tearful face. Alex didn't stare at the girl for long as his attention was drawn to the man whose body had turned blue-black with bulging veins all over. "Noah, ask that maid to leave." "Ow." Noah pinched Alex, which surprised him. "What the fuck? I don't remember us being close enough to perform friendly actions." "She's my sister." Creak. The lady in the chair stood up and looked at the people with an uneasy expression. "Brother, who are they?" "Wasn't it said that our home doesn't have any princesses?" Raya asked curiously, as if she had found something to gossip about. "The third prince is my sister Sienna, who acts as the prince. An oracle said that both princes might lose their lives due to a disaster. To take precautions, my father decided to ask her to pose as a prince, but since everything seems to be meaningless, my father wants her to live her life as herself," Noah explained without looking at Sienna. Sienna's expression turned cold and she shouted, surprising everyone. "What the hell is going on? Can someone explain it to me? Why have you brought them here, and how can you expose the secrets to outsiders?" Noah sighed and tried to calm his sister, who erupted like a volcano. Chapter 439, Treating the First Prince of Arkham. Noah told everything to Sienna, who occasionally stared at Alex. She also took a look and looked at Raya with jealousy, wondering how there could be a woman as beautiful as her who looked like a sculpture made by the goddess. "Are you really going to believe in him? What if he harms us, brother? Who will take responsibility?" Sienna asked with a cold gaze. "It seems she is not as naive as she seems," Alex muttered. "What did you say?" Sienna frowned at Alex. Alex simply shrugged and stepped forward. "Let's not waste any more time." Noah asked Sienna to calm down and save the grudge for later. Alex sat in front of Nolan and observed him. He first checked his pulse and channeled his mana into him. Noah and Sienna watched Alex with a gloomy expression. Alex could not be said to be a real doctor, but at least he was not a layman in that aspect. He had been taught the basic knowledge of most things while they belonged to the knowledge category. What worried Alex the most was whether Nolan had been affected like Cherry, causing a mutation or change in his physical body. Contrary to what would have happened in the worst-case scenario, he had not been affected that much. He seemed to have been poisoned by something that combined with the element of darkness, similar to a darkness pill. It was the kind of thing that was quite difficult to diagnose, and its antidote was quite difficult for any master to make, but fortunately, it was something that especially Alex, after a basic understanding, could easily handle. "How bad is it?" Noah asked in a worried tone. "I think I can treat it, but I need to prepare some things." Alex spoke confidently and brought relief to Noah. Sienna was still skeptical about it, but she didn't voice her thoughts so as not to cause any inconvenience. She wanted to believe Alex's words, but since they came from the enemy who massacred her men, she found it difficult to accept them. "Noah, can you help me with these things?" Alex scribbled something with a pen on the paper and passed it to Noah. Noah quickly organized everything as soon as possible, and within a few minutes everything was organized. Alex opened the box containing the acupuncture needle. He covered it with his light element containing mana and began to stick it into the acupuncture meridian channels, through which blood and mana meet for a moment and circulate throughout the body. In front of everyone's stunned gaze, Nolan's body began to swell at the insides and veins began to bulge and spread towards his head. Alex passed some instructions to Raya, who had already taken her position. Riaya, get ready, Alex shouted and covered the last needle with mana and stuck it on top of Nolan. Nolan's body was throbbing and shaking as if he had been suddenly electrocuted. Now Riaya. Riaya's palm began to glow and she held it over Nolan's stomach that had swelled greatly. Swish. Swish. Faint gales arose due to the collision of Riaya's palm with Nolan's stomach, causing the mana to surge with strong pressure. Sweat began to run down Riaya's forehead. Veins bulged on Riaya's arms and a dark glow appeared over her arms. Alex grabbed Riaya's arms and shouted, "Don't absorb it. It's quite poisonous. We don't know what effect you'll have after absorbing it." Riaya was now properly extracting the darkness mana that had been residing in Nolan's body while Alex tried to purify it as much as possible. Alex locked all the mana points and gathered the resident dark mana in one place for easy collection. Now it only remains for them to clean it all up. "Let's get this over with," Alex shouted, and a bright golden light emerged from him that covered the entire room. The dazzling bright light illuminated the entire place for a brief period. As the bright glow dissipated, Alex collapsed onto the couch as he pulled Riaya onto his lap. "It's over," Alex said with a deep breath and wiped the sweat off Riaya's forehead. "Thank you," Riaya spoke softly, wondering why that minor thing was so tiring for her. Noah was about to say something when he heard a gurgling sound, and it didn't take him long to figure it out. Blurg. Bear. Nolan coughed and vomited a dark liquid with a horrible rotten smell that was enough to make everyone sick. "That's the remaining poison base. Let him vomit. Get your things while Riaya and I take a walk. You can call the doctor and check on his condition." After Alex and Riaya got out, Nolan continued to vomit for a few moments, after which his condition stabilized. The dark blue color on his body disappeared and he started to resemble a real human. The royal physician checked his condition and said that he is finally out of danger. Vermouth dropped everything and ran to his son to take him and look at him and shed tears of joy along with the others. "My son is alive. My son." Vermouth's lip trembled as his heart was flooded with joy and reverence. He previously felt that he had failed as a father by not protecting his son. He regretted every day that he had sent his son to the battlefield, which would become the cause of his death. Watching his son slowly die before his eyes was the cruelest torture for a father. It was a moment of celebration for everyone. If it weren't for the difficult situation, he could have organized a royal banquet and entertained everyone. Even if he couldn't do that, he should at least treat the one who is the reason for all that happiness with all his heart. Alex and Riaya, who were in the guest room, were called out, and when Alex entered the room, his steps faltered as he saw Vermouth bowing his head in deep gratitude. "Your Highness, I understand your feelings, but as the Emperor of the nation, you should not bow down to someone like me. There are many other ways to express gratitude." Although Alex spoke in a humble tone, his crooked smile did not go unnoticed in Riaya's eyes, who shook her head in dismay. He knew what was coming. The royal family of Arkham might bite their nails trying to fulfill Alex's request. Chapter 440, Asking for Help for the Raid. Inside the royal castle of Arkham. Alex didn't expect a grand banquet as the situation was quite solemn, but seeing the royal family bowing to him made his heart swell with pride, but at the same time he was also surprised to see such a sight. For the ruler of an empire to bow his head to a person is not as simple a matter as it seems. "Shouldn't you rest for a while? Why are you walking around all over the place?" "It's all thanks to your grace. Not only was I able to get rid of it and stay alive, but my rank also increased from the initial mythical rank to the middle mythical rank." Nolan spoke with a sincere expression. Seeing Nolan's bright eyes looking at him, Alex felt a little awkward. "And since my benefactor is asking something of me, it's only natural that I be present." Alex sighed and waved his hand. Fortunately, Sienna accompanied Riaya to have a small tea party, otherwise she would have felt nervous from their stares. Alex looked at Vermouth and pulled out a stack of papers and placed them in front of him. "What is all this?" Vermouth asked curiously. "These are the names of nobles who were smuggling goods and other things secretly with the help of some Lockhart scum. Many of them might be in the process of organizing a rebellion and might have allied themselves with the demons. You must segregate them. Don't let anyone associate with them either," Alex said with a smile. "Surely some people might like this." Vermouth and the others looked cold upon hearing this. "Is this the help you want us to ask for?" "No, I need two things to help me. First, I've located a secret organization base and I need your help to deal with them." Suddenly, a chill radiated through the interior of the room. Noah's eyes turned bloodshot and he gritted his teeth in anger. "Is that the bastard organization that is in charge of annihilating my men?" The sad scene of his men and his 2 mythic rank guards turned into ashes appeared before his eyes, making his heart struggle to calm down. "Yes," Alex spoke in a grim voice. "I want your help to assault the place. Normally I should have gone alone, but I don't know what troubles may await us there." Vermit stared at Noah and decided to let him decide on this. After all, his second son was the one who had suffered the most. Noah pondered for a moment and then shook his head with dead eyes. "Alex, I want to rush to that place and crush them like worms, but I don't think I can muster the courage. What if another powerhouse appears? How can we deal with them? We can't ask for the help of those elders without any hard proof either. Also, what if they get killed due to their weakened state?" Noah's plausible words made Alex smile. Even in this situation, he was able to calm his mind and think of all the pros and cons. Some people were consumed by anger, grief, and jealousy, causing them to lose their minds and make hasty decisions that had a grave effect. "Noah, do you remember the teleportation spell I told you about? I can teleport many people, but if I mean with absolute confidence, I can teleport 15 people if we face any danger. I might have trouble with more than one since the casting time would be extended and the enemy attack would reach us, but if it's 15, I can guarantee that not even a supreme ranker can touch us," Alex said in a reassuring tone. "Can you promise me that?" Noah asked seriously. "I swear on my name. You may be hurt, but none of you will die or suffer any life-threatening injuries." Noah exhaled deeply, then spoke with a bright smile. "Then it's done." Vermouth and Nolan laughed at Noah's expression. "Alex, taking down the organization is what we should do? It can't be considered help," Vermouth said. "You can ask whatever you want." When Alex heard a heavenly melody, he tried his hardest to keep a deadpan expression, but his lips curved upward slightly with a devilish smile. "That's what I was waiting for. I need resources." "Resources?" Vermouth muttered with his eyes half closed. "Ever since I was expelled from the royal family, I haven't received much support from them. I've never taken any elixir or anything like that to strengthen myself. I know that my strength is already greater than my peers, but I need to prepare for the upcoming event, so I need anything that can help me increase my rank as much as possible with very little side effects," Alex said. Wait, are you saying that you've never taken any elixir or help from external means to get stronger?" Vermit asked with a frown. Alex shook his head. "Really?" Nolan and Noah shouted at the same time. "Why are they looking at me as if I had made a grave mistake?" Nolan coughed with an embarrassed expression and said, "That's because many of the nobles and other people take elixir that expands mana vessels and facilitates circulation before awakening and then consume it at regular intervals to get stronger. I've taken it from time to time, but after reaching legendary rank, I've decreased the frequency of it. If you had bet on it, you would have been able to get it easily," Noah said. Alex scratched his cheek and said, "I didn't want to rely on the elixir so much, so I avoided this kind of thing." "Yeah, taking too many is not good," Vermouth said. "When do you need this?" "Probably as soon as possible." "Then, Alex, you can go on the raid first. When you get back, I'll make sure to give you one of the best gifts of your life," Vermouth said with a mischievous smile. Alex gulped, his anticipation rising after seeing the smile on Vermouth's face. Chapter 441, Raid on a Secret Base. Alex and Noah, followed by 10 men, arrived at a huge mountain covered in dense vegetation. A gigantic waterfall appeared before them, emanating mist that spread out in all directions and pouring large streams of water into a pool on the ground. It was a mysterious and majestic sight. As Alex's companions looked at the marvelous, breathtaking scene, Alex pointed directly at the waterfall and shouted in encouragement. "That's our destination. Take a look at the scene. In front of us is a hidden, unknown place that might contain huge amounts of treasure. Let's raid it and lay waste to it. Follow me and you'll prosper." Cough. Cough. Hearing Alex's words, loud coughs rang out from all around. Noah looked at Alex with an embarrassed expression and said, "Aren't you getting too into role-playing? I'm already embarrassed wearing a mask and black hooded robe, and now you're talking like we're bandits raiding an unknown place without the other party's permission." Alex gave him a glare and said, "Isn't that what we're doing?" Noah choked and felt a deep headache. His mask that makes him invisible uses a lot of mana and isn't suitable for fighting. At that moment he wished to hide from this situation using the mask. Alex first observed the area using his map while looking for all the signs of threat and danger. After analyzing certain things, he took the initiative. To get to the back of the waterfall, Alex and his partner had to cross a narrow path on the cliff that connected to the back area of the waterfall. The path was too narrow for them to easily pass through. Plus, They were taking a detour and proceeding in a roundabout way. They could have also taken a shortcut that involved jumping into the lake and swimming through the waterfall, but that would have wasted too much energy. There were many rocks and boulders sticking out in the narrow path, but Noah took it upon himself to clear them away. Masses of rocks began to float and stuck to the side of the cliff, creating new paths for them, and as soon as Alex and the others passed through, they soon returned to their original position. More rocks rose up and then returned to their place. They continued down that path and eventually arrived again. As they passed through, Alex was splashed by water droplets. Alex let himself soak in it and enjoyed the coolness of the water, which eased his nerves before the battle. "We're here." Noah took a step back as soon as he heard Alex's hoarse voice. He could sense the change in Alex's expression, meaning that Alex will become serious now. "I can hear the hollow sound of water, but I can't see the cave," Noah muttered. "It's sealed from the outside," Alex said as he ran his finger along the thick, sturdy, stony wall. He unsheathed his sword and called for the others to raise their guard. Alex placed his left hand on the rock and twisted his finger. The wall in front of him began to shake, and a hole large enough for a human to enter appeared before them. They entered the hall, the inside of which was damp and humid. The situation got worse as they went further. The humidity eventually subsided, and the uneven floor of the cave was soon replaced by stone slabs that made it easier to walk on. Before them appeared a large door that was engraved with strange symbols that gave it an ominous look. Noah flinched as he felt a strange thing behind the door. "Open it," Alex muttered. Two knights dressed in black robes pushed the door slab open. The door was quite heavy and took a while to open. Between the gaps of the open door, a huge path leading to numerous passages appeared before their right. "It looks like a maze," Noah said, and ordered his man to stay close so that no one would get separated. All of them wore a bracelet that could help them locate the other in case one went missing. "Be on guard." Noah couldn't finish his speech as Alex's figure lunged forward and swung his sword. Swish! Alex cut off the attack and stepped forward with a smile. "What a warm welcome." Stump! 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 The ground began to shake, and they looked ahead as they heard the footsteps of many walking towards them. "What are they? They can't be humans. Their steps are too loud and heavy," one of the men behind them said as he raised his bow. Dark, red eyes shone through the dimly lit hallway. The thing made no attempt to hide and advanced towards them at a slow pace. "Golems," Noah said with a twisted expression. "I've never fought a golem properly," Alex said with an amused expression. Yvonne had plenty of golems for Alex to play with, but Alex had only used them sparingly and hadn't fought them seriously. Rather than the golems and themselves, Alex was concerned about the material they were made of. As if they were made of great material, Alex wasn't sure he could cut them. "The core seemed to be made of mithril and seemed to be protected by something," Noah said and looked at the golem. "These golems might be quite valuable then. I've only seen weapons made of mithril in the hands of great warriors." As they muttered, Alex looked at Wilford and said, "Isn't your sword made of mithril?" Wilford nodded and raised his chin proudly, wanting to show his master's magnanimity. "Okay, if my sword breaks, I'll ask for it," Alex spoke and leaned his body forward. Taking a deep breath, he channeled his mana and stomped on the ground hard to charge forward at high speed. Bang! Alex covered his sword with his aura and muttered, "Let's try them out first." Approaching the first target, Alex aimed at the spot where the core was located and thrust his sword in. Piercing thrust. Chapter 442, Raid on the Secret Base 2. Boom. Scream. With a loud bang, Alex was thrown back due to the rebound of the collision. While on the other side, the golem Alex flew back a few meters and hit the one behind. Alex shook his head to shake off the dust and saw that all he did was slightly damage the golem's chest. Alex attacks and manages to make a small crack on the chest. Although Alex hadn't used his full strength, the damage he caused was rather pathetic. "I think this is a good learning experience for you. So try to fight them properly," Alex muttered and pushed the others forward. There were 8 golems. Each of them was twice as tall as a human and possessed an imposing build. Their arms were as thick as they were long and were made of mithril. The other men staggered forward as they couldn't refuse Alex's orders. Bang! 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 The golems began to run and approach others, and threw their fists at them. Hiss! The former easily evaded the attacks and then swung his sword. "Shut up, up!" The man grunted in pain as his hands ached, and unlike when he used to wield his sword, its blade felt heavy and dull. The sword was knocked into the golem's arms. Hiss! As the golem swung its arm, the man's body flew like a leaf in the storm and his body flew into the air. However, even though he was shocked, he did not let go of his sword and remained focused. He put strength into his arms and pulled his body towards Golem. The man swung his body and landed on the Golem's arm, pouring out all his strength, and finally managed to pull out the sword. Due to the momentum of the swing, he was sent flying and crashed into the walls. His body shook and he felt his bones cracking due to the collision. Noah realized that his knights were having a hard time facing them. Alex, if this continues, they will be defeated. The space here is too tight for them to fight freely. Due to the narrow space that had already been covered by the Golem, the knight's movement was restricted. Yes, I've been observing that as well. Ask your archer to aim for the joints. I'll take on the Golem's deadly blows while asking them to make room. You don't need to. We have Sir Wilford for that, Noah replied. No, he needs to conserve his strength for any unknown variables, Alex replied and ran towards the Golem that was trying to crush a knight. Alex stepped forward and swung his sword. Clank. His sword made a crisp sound as it hit the Golem's elbow joint. His sword vibrated, but it wasn't enough to shake it. Alex twisted his body as he jumped back into the air and avoided the incoming fist. Alex dodged the thick fist coming towards him by bending his body at an unimaginable angle. He's flexible, stop looking at him and shoot the arrow, Noah shouted as he saw his archer surprised by Alex's movements. Swish. 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 4 arrows charged with a large amount of mana crashed into the joint gap and managed to get stuck there. That's enough. Alex jumped up and held his sword vertically, piercing through the armored handle. With a long bang, he fell from the impact, but the Golem didn't stop moving. He stretched out his empty arm trying to hit Alex with his severed arms. But Alex hit his shoulder with his sword and propelled his body upwards with a force and then landed on the ceiling. He shot towards the Golem. His sword shone, exuding a dense aura, and pierced through the part containing the core. Shit, Alex curses as he feels an anomaly due to his sword hitting the core. Violent mana began to spiral out of control and surge. Alex used blink and teleported back along with those who were near him. The Golem's body flashed and Noah created a barrier around everyone. A burst of fire spread through the passage with a loud eruption. Swish. Swish. After the explosion dispersed, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Many charged at the Golem, but Noah was able to create a barrier so far away. The situation is more dangerous than it seems, Alex assessed again. If he hadn't teleported 4 people who were quite close to the explosion, then they would have died from the impact even with the barrier. Each of these 10 were Arkham elites and were at the legendary rank and were enough to shake the Empire, but they were having a hard time against the Homes of Superior's construct. This Golem seemed to be of a higher level. Whenever we destroyed its core, it would explode, putting us at great risk, Noah said with a frown. Damn it. That means we can't take the cores, Alex cursed. Noah was puzzled by Alex's words. Brother, aren't you focusing on the wrong thing? That's what Noah and others wanted to say but couldn't. Let's group up and take this Golem. First, their joints need to be broken. That would prevent them from moving for now. Although Alex said this, it wasn't as easy as it seems. The knights sneaked through the gaps of the Golems and rushed forward to regroup. Alex stepped forward and swung his sword with momentum. Aura swords emerged and crashed into the Golems like waves of the sea with a splitting explosion. Rocks flew towards the Golems trying to crush them. Noah chanted a spell and waved his staff. Freezing winds blew and froze the armor in one place, and Noah prepared to launch his next attack. Red fire engulfed the frozen Golems and melted the frost in an instant. Crank. The frozen Golems broke free and tried to move forward, but their steps were slow and stiff. Alex then launched another blast of ice and a tsunami of fire once more. Noah and Alex alternated the attack that made the Golem's body fragile. Now attack them with everything you have. Yes. The knights hungrily leapt towards their prey, and as their swords struck the Golem's body, they found it easier to break through the Golem's defenses. Crack. 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 Chapter 443, Another Human Experiment. The metal Golems didn't have as many joints as real living beings, but they were strong enough to bear weight normally. However, after repeated cooling and heating, their top layer becomes brittle. Pop. Pop. The joints were shattered by the sword strike. Crash. With its knee joints broken, the Golem crashed to the ground and began to roll. Even after being beaten to this state, it began to drag its body with its arm. The knights decided to hit the arm joints and break them. However, as it was about to swing its swords, the Golem's red eyes glowed brighter. The knights were startled to see something unusual. Mana stirred a little before it, and before the golem could do anything, the knight felt someone grab him by the back of the neck and was abruptly pulled back. Swish! A beam of red light shot out from the golem and crashed into the ceiling, causing dust and debris to fall all over the place. Pay attention to the golem. Once they are pushed back, they fire laser beams, Alex shouted, jumping up and piercing the golem's eyes. It was about to fire another laser, but Alex stabbed it hard, causing an explosion that made its head explode into pieces. Alex put away his sword as he jumped up and grabbed the golem's massive rocky body and lifted it up. Boom! Boom! Although it was quite heavy, Alex easily lifted it up and then threw it at the other golem. Bomb! It crashed into the other golem, and a large crack spread towards the core, which lit up and exploded again. The knights immediately ran over and hid behind Noah's back, who cast another barrier. Give me the bow. Alex ran towards the archer and, under everyone's bewildered gaze, snatched the bow from his hand. Alex loaded the arrow and stretched the string as far as he could. The arrow began to glow and mana swirled around it. Sling! The arrow tore through the air like a cannon shot. The arrow pierced through the golem's chest and hit the core, which caused a loud explosion. But it didn't end there. A series of arrows were fired in quick succession, which crashed into the golem's core, filling the entire place with fire and explosion. As the smoke and fire dispersed, everyone saw pieces of golems crushed on the ground. Amazing, Milford expressed his admiration. You even know how to handle a bow? Noah asked. I'm proficient in many weapons, Alex spoke as he shrugged and returned the bow. What are we going to do now? The sound might have alerted the enemy, Noah said with a frown. Didn't you put up any sound barriers? I've executed it, but I couldn't maintain it due to casting another spell. It's okay. I've also created a sound barrier, Alex said and walked forward as he looked at the mithril. Let's take this mithril. It's not something we should just leave abandoned here. Alex walked forward without hesitation. Although the ruins were huge, he didn't get lost, causing everyone to wonder as they followed Alex's lead in curiosity. His group had come across several golems, and as they moved forward, a large number of stone doors appeared. At first glance, they looked very large and important, but they didn't have detailed carvings like the one at the entrance of the ruins. He pushed his hands on the stone wall and pushed harder. Creak. The stone wall that had been closed for who knows how long slowly began to open, and through the crack of the door, a room appeared, and the scene startled many. Everyone except Alex let out a long exclamation at the sight before them. Inside the dark room, there were many figures dressed in dark robes doing something. At that moment they heard a rustling sound and saw a masked man appear before them. Hey, the man muttered. Are you part of the group that is involved in all the shady business happening in the world? Also, are you the group that invented the darkness pill? All the people in the room stopped their work and looked at Alex for a moment. There was a slight reaction in the leader's eyes this time. Most people would feel scared at that chilling gaze, but of course, instead of fear, Alex felt amused by their reactions. Alex tilted his head and muttered as he slowly closed the door, Sorry, it seems I've come to the wrong room. It took a moment for everyone to snap out of their thoughts. Since the man who came in here was also dressed like them, it caught them by surprise. Kill that bastard, but first bring him here. Let me see who that guy is, the leader ordered, causing everyone to rush towards the door. When they reached the closed door and tried to open it, a bright flash appeared before their eyes, followed by an explosion that sent many flying. Swish! Many figures appeared through the door, and they saw a huge, spacious hallway where many people were present. Although they were numerous, Alex's group was superior in quality. Kill this bastard, clang. Alex blocked an attack that came straight from the leader, while the other dealt with the underlying one. Alex still didn't let Wilford get involved and asked him to oversee things. Clang. Noah's magic exploded, but it didn't have any significant effect as the leader cut through the attack easily. Alex stepped forward and faced the leader. Clammo. 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 The leader's sword was heavy, but he surprisingly moved his sword as if it was as light as a feather. His skill seemed to be remarkable, but Alex felt a little strange, and as he inspected the man, his eyes fluttered. This guy isn't a human. His body has been experimented on by a beast. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 444, Another Human Experiment 2. Alex exchanged blows with a man who seemed to be the leader of this group of men. As Alex repeatedly struck out with his sword, his eyes could see the man's hands beneath the cloak. It wasn't a surprise for Alex to see such a scene, as he expected a similar scene, but still, it left an unpleasant aftertaste. The man's hide was close to Alex's, but his hands were rather thick and bulky with brown hair covering them like a gorilla's. Alex noticed the man's strange footwork and thought he might have the beast's legs as well, but he wasn't sure as he couldn't see it. "You've lost your humanity. You're neither human nor a beast." "What did you say?" The leader raised his voice and brandished his sword, showing that he was enraged by Alex's comment. "If I'm neither human nor beast, then who am I?" he shouted and fiercely swung at Alex's sword, pushing him back a few steps. A volley of blows hit Alex from all sides. "Why don't you say it again?" "HMPH, Alex snorted, and a large amount of mana poured into his sword. Alex swung it with all his might. Even the leader seemed to be surprised by this attack and raised his sword to defend himself. Clamp. Two swords clashed against each other and the leader's movements became stiff. Bang. The leader's posture faltered and a crushing pain assaulted him, numbing his arms. "You are neither a human nor a beast. You are just a moron," Alex shouted, and as he imposed more strength on his hands, the leader was forced to kneel on the ground. "How?" the leader roared in anger with bloodshot eyes. After undergoing a stressful experiment and being reinforced with a beast's hands, the strength of his arms had been raised to the point where he could kill a legendary ranker with just a simple punch, but he was forced to his knees by this masked figure. Although he was very angry, he did not lose his composure. He narrowed his eyes at one of his subordinates who was quite close to them. As Alex focused on the leader, his back was exposed and the underling lunged at Alex and pierced his sword towards Alex's side. Alex moved his waist to avoid the critical hit, but the sword drew a long line on his side. A small cut appeared, causing blood to splatter. However, it wasn't Alex's blood but the sword that pierced the leader's shoulder, leaving a cut. The leader's eyes widened in horror, and gritting his teeth in anger, he punched the man in the stomach, sending him flying through the air towards the wall. "Damn idiot. Wow. Come, you can do it. Kill all your men in our name." Alex clapped his hands at the man, angering him even more. "All of you focus on this man," the leader ordered and ran towards Alex. Many robed figures ran towards Alex, making him smile. Wilford, who was watching the scene, just sighed, thinking that mothers were heading towards the flame. Alex took a step back and then turned his body. Boom. Alex's sword traced a path. Light flashed from the sword and looked like a star shining in the sky. The leader screamed in panic and raised his aura-charged sword to block the assault. Clanking. Another explosion was heard as Alex's energy spread out and swept across the entire place. The combined force of Alex's aura and mana decapitated the one who ran at him and crashed into the leader, pushing him into the corner. Yuck, the leader ran back in fear as he pushed the thing beneath him into the bright light. The one beneath him, who was made into a scapegoat and thrown into a pit, tried to evade the attack. The battle going on around us suddenly stopped. After the light dispersed, Alex felt numerous gazes directed at him, which confused him. "What?" Noah gulped and said, "I didn't think you were going to be serious from the start." "Me too. I thought you were going to be playing around," Wilford said. "I did so subconsciously." "That man's presence irritated me," Alex said, pointing at the leader. "Tisk." The leader clicked his tongue and looked at the scene around him. "I don't think we can stop them here. I need to prepare Plan B. If the worst happens, I'll just have to detonate this place and escape. I can't have our plans leak to an outsider." The leader grumbled and attacked the ground, causing smoke to appear before him, and he fled. "Shit, stop staring at me and do something. Our prey is on the run," Alex shouted. Noah prepared to cast a spell as Alex tried to run after the leader, but unfortunately Alex was blocked by the henchman. "Stop him. In the meantime, I'll start with the auxiliary plans," the leader shouted from afar as he ran away. As he ran away, he pressed a button on the wall which made the warning signal sound, alerting everyone, and slipped past the door. "Get out of my way, you piece of shit," Alex roared and swung his sword, destroying anyone who appeared in front of him. Slice. Alex's sword pierced through people's chests and stomachs. Slices. 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 A bright crimson light flashed in the dark passageway several times, and every time a light was turned on, a head that was underneath would fall. At that moment, Alex, who was slicing through the horde of sheep, felt his grip tighten as the enemy that Alex sliced did not die, but faint cracking sounds could be heard instead. Crackle. The sound of bones deforming was heard and Alex immediately retreated knowing what was happening. The man's chest where Alex slashed quickly sealed shut and his physique expanded and his human figure transformed into a monstrous one. "This place is filled with discarded pieces of trash," Alex said as he raised his sword to fight the monstrous figure before him. Chapter 445, Experienced Humans. Alex's sword struck the lower torso of the man whose body began to deform. Seeing the man's contorted expression, Alex swung his sword and took a step back while clicking his tongue. The man in front of him suddenly grew stronger and transformed at an astonishing rate. A cracking sound could be heard due to bones breaking and joining together. His body began to enlarge. His arms began to bulge and claws extended from his hands. His face became furry and a wolf-like snout appeared. Kaya! He let out a very loud beast-like screech, resembling that of a beast. Everyone flinched slightly upon hearing the shrill cry. Noah, who was facing off against the others, shouted in panic, "What the hell is that thing?" Wilford looked at the monster calmly and appeared before Noah as he sensed that the transformed man was dangerous. "It's just a puppy that lost its home," Alex said as he ran towards the man. Krang. 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 It was hard to believe that this battle was between humans. They heard monsters' screams and then saw a bright red sword intercept the violently flailing fists. Their collisions created strong ripples one after another. It was even surprising that the place was still standing instead of being demolished. The man relied on his raw physicality after transforming to defeat Alex. Bang! Bang! Alex dodged the attack of the man who made a hole in the back of the walls. As he ran, Alex saw many people running towards the place and each of them felt quite strange. Maybe each of them can transform like this or maybe not. There is still a darkness pill left that these scums should use that would surely increase their strength. Alex, after fending off the fierce attacks, found that the man had plenty of chances. Due to his large body and tremendous strength, he attempted to strike his opponent. Alex ran closer to the man who swung his claws straight towards Alex. He was quite fast but Alex evaded it by tilting his head, though it grazed his cheek and made a small cut. Seeing Alex approaching with a piercing gaze, his beastly instinct screamed in panic and he swung another claw towards Alex. Swish! His other hand met empty air as Alex knelt down avoiding the strike and then leapt towards the man and stabbed his sword into him. The beastly man couldn't escape that short distance and Alex's sword pierced his stomach. Oh! He groaned in pain and his hand flew towards Alex but Alex evaded it by simply arching his back as he pulled out his sword and then slammed his sword into the monster's thigh. Kayak! Blood gushed out from the monster but it resisted and tried to hit Alex like it was its last resort. Smash! Alex increased his grip and mana was unleashed violently into his sword and he swung his sword around. Bang! The leg that Alex's sword hit abruptly exploded. Shards of blood, skin and bone flew out and Alex stepped back to avoid them. The man was crying and moaning in pain as his body returned to normal. As Alex approached, the wall that was a few meters away from him vibrated again and many robbed figures appeared. "Leave him and we will grant him an easy kill," one of them screamed and was about to rush forward when he was hit by a terrifying bush and was thrown far away. The newly arrived men were greeted with arrows and spells thrown by Noah, who glared at Alex and shouted for them to continue. One of the figures was burned to a crisp under the bombardment of Noah, who stepped forward while reciting enchantment spells one after another. "Damn it, someone cover us. We have to transform to get rid of these people," the men talked amongst themselves and closed the door for cover. 4 of them had already died due to Noah's terrifying attack, making them very angry. Groan. Each of them looked similar to the man Alex was fighting inside. Their bodies began to convulse and throb as veins bulged. Cuck, the pain caused them to scream. "Just you wait, I'll slaughter every single one of these bastards," one of them roared in anger as his body went through a terrifying transformation. However, before it could be completed, the door made of a material that could take a legendary ranked hit suddenly opened with a loud explosion that threw them into disarray. Their eyes widened in horror as they noticed the rank of the human that appeared before them. It was the peak mythic rank. Even if they all ganged up on him after transforming, there still wouldn't be a chance. Wilford walked towards them coldly with a menacing look and muttered, "Menace to society, let me give you a choice. Die in peace after telling me about your leader or die shedding tears of blood under my sword. The choice is yours," Wilford said with a wicked smile that sent shivers down their spines. Noah walked through the door and his body stiffened after hearing Wilford's words. He wasn't surprised by his words, but rather by that expression that Noah had seen many times lately. It seems that Alex affected him. He muttered to himself and looked at Alex, who said similar words to the man who was rolling around in pain. Alex walks over to the man who was rolling around in a pathetic state and muttering something. "I'm asking you for the last time. Do you have something you want to convey to me?" The man raised his head and spoke in a fearful tone. "You will die and torture us with our hands." Alex stabbed his sword into the previously created cut on his stomach, and as he pulled his sword out, the man's intestines spilled out. "Before that, you will be tortured to death by me. You will face the wrath of the omen. Your death will be ominous." "What?" Alex asked and held the man's neck and stared at him, but the man eventually lost consciousness. Chapter 446, The Dark Shadow Rises. Alex stared at the breathing corpse just now with a bewildered expression. Witnessing Alex's expression, Noah walked up to him and asked, "Did you get anything from him?" "Nothing special, but he seemed to mutter the name of the organization. He said that we will suffer the wrath of the omen." Noah listened to Alex's words and muttered, "What an ominous name." Alex stood up and leaned his gaze towards the door. Beyond there, loud screams and howls echoed in the place. On the other side of that wall, a bloody battle was taking place. "Should we leave some people behind and ask them to search for information?" Noah asked. "No," Alex rebutted and spoke. "We can't do that. We don't know anything about the opponents, nor do we know their number. What if the knights are attacked and killed by a group after we leave? We'll stick together until we get rid of everyone and then continue our search." Noah nodded at Alex's words and called to regroup as Alex marched forward. As he passed the gate, he saw another passage that had been stained with blood. Pieces of severed limbs and organs were strewn across the path, which was quite a nauseating sight for many, and in front, a man was charging towards the enemy like a butcher, cutting the enemies in front of him into pieces. "He's having fun." Alex chuckled and decided to join the party. The monstrous men panicked as they saw Wilford take charge of them, and some, out of fear, even threw weapons at him. Wilford glanced at them casually as he could deal with them easily, but Alex appeared before him and knocked the weapons down. "Sir Wilford, these weapons are cursed, so don't take it lightly," Alex warned in a serious tone. Wilford frowned and looked at the weapon carefully and felt the sinister aura emanating from it. Noah along with other men appeared behind them while Alex and Wilford finished off the front. It didn't take long for them to massacre the entire group of people. Dyeing the place in blood, they continued walking. Alex then took the lead and led them, following the leader's mana signature. They were led to another narrow cave, and as soon as they entered the cave, the things that worried Alex the most finally appeared. Bang! Alex swung his sword. His mana-infused sword slashed at the target flying towards him. Bang! The target was cut into two halves and exploded in front of him. Dark energy floated into the air and disappeared as Alex waved his hand. "Did you sense it?" Alex asked. "Their presence is rather weak. If one is not experienced enough or is slightly negligent, one might be in trouble," Wilford said in a grim tone. Since Alex was going to take command, he had narrated in detail the things they might encounter here. Vermouth and Wilford knew all of this, but Noah and his brother kept the facts hidden because it was a rather important matter. When Noah learned of their existence, he was baffled beyond his wildest dream. This is where the real battle begins. These beings are not strong, but they are certainly lethal. We will soon reach the end, so we may face each other. We are in for a lot of sneak attacks from now on. Alex warned everyone and asked them to stay alert and raise their guard. As they moved forward, more dark beings like the one Alex had just exterminated began to writhe towards him. They looked disgusting and strange. It was as if a shadow rose from the ground and we were heading towards them, trying to follow its retreat route. The beings that emerged from the ground clearly did not have any particular shape and looked like a moving lump of darkness. However, all of them had roughly an outline. There were some that had 4 prominent parts sticking out and looked human-like. Some crawled on all fours, some walked like humans while their hands took the shape of various types of weapons, while some were lumpy and small like running animals. Although most of them writhed around without noticing the intruder's presence, a couple of them were able to detect it, and like wild, ravenous beasts, they screamed and pounced on them. The knights attacked them and blasted away the shadow beings coming towards them. Swoosh! Swoosh! "It's easy to take them out," the knight muttered arrogantly, but the next moment a whip shot out from the former, which startled him, and the sharp end of the whip pierced his shoulder. "Arg!" He groaned in pain but swung his sword and cut him down. Alex noticed the man's serious injury and cast a healing spell while lecturing him. "Are you a little kid? Didn't I tell you not to be careful around them? They may seem intangible and weak, but they can cause deadly damage." Boom! A fireball crashed towards them as it scared many away, but at the same time, It also attracted the attention of many shadow creatures. "They are simply endless," Noah said and slammed his staff on the ground after chanting the spell. A huge magic circle appeared before him and spewed flames like the wrath of dragons. "That is also one of their strengths," Alex said as he puffed out his chest. "What the hell? Why are you feeling proud in this situation?" Noah retorted, causing Alex to glare at him. The cave, packed with shadow creatures from top to bottom, was burned to ashes by the flames. Those bodies that caught fire began to burst one after another, emanating a dark mist. When the flames dispersed, a thick and heavy smoke was left behind along with a dark mist that seemed to mix with the smoke and dissolve into the air, causing them to suffocate. Noah waved his staff, blew the air, and pushed them towards the entrance only to see more shadow creatures in that place. Chapter 447, Rise of the Dark Shadows 2. Everyone frowned at the sight before them. Shadows swarmed around the trenches. Most of them seemed disinterested, but Alex knew that once the fight started, they would all swarm around him. As Alex's eyes scanned around, he saw the massive door on the other side and sensed the leader's mana. "This place seemed to be a breeding ground for shadows," Noah said, causing everyone to frown at his strange words. "Stop talking nonsense and hit them hard before they make a move. The door you see on the other side is where that son of a bitch left. I can't sense anyone's aura anymore. I still feel like there's some dangerous stuff in there," Alex yelled at Noah. Noah grimaced at Alex's words and felt like he was her worker and this boss was working him to death. "Step aside," Noah said angrily and raised her staff and cast a spell. Close. Close. Lightning began to bounce off his staff and after completing the spell, he swung the staff in front of him. Rumble. Rumble. A noise that sounded like thunder filled the trench and made everyone flinch a little. But it had a clear effect. A flash of light shattered the inside of the trench and swept away the shadows. When the bright light disappeared, most of the shadows vanished without a trace. Noah breathed heavily as he cast a high-level spell that nearly drained him, leaving his face pale. "I'll take it from here," Alex muttered and pulled out his sword and slid his finger across it. It began to glow with a burst of mana. Alex stepped onto the ground and in one leap arrived at the center of the trench. Condensing the bright golden aura, he slammed the sword heavily on the ground. Silence. A bright golden dome-shaped sphere appeared which began to enlarge greatly and struck the remaining shadows which burst and disappeared into nothingness. The dark fumes emanating from their bodies also dispersed and disappeared without a trace. Alex put some effort into this move, but fortunately Wilford was still energized and apparently he would be the one to draw the last card from whatever leader he was preparing. Others walked and crossed the trench and arrived at the door in the empty place. "What are they hiding there?" Noah asked curiously. "It's strange. Why is there some kind of trench here? It looks more like a desolate place," Wilford muttered. There were quite a few rocks on the sides. From a distance it looked like a useless rock, but as they got closer they could tell that they were piles of motionless golems that hadn't been finished yet. As they inspected the door, Noah crouched down and inspected the small exposed section that wasn't covered by the golem. "Everyone should be careful. We don't know if this golem will attack us," Alex warned the knights who were looking around indifferently. "There's a magic mechanism here. It disperses the attack and seals the door. The mana surrounding it is incredibly strong, and there are several complicated magic spells on top of that. I think what's inside must be quite important to them," Noah muttered after a thorough inspection. Wilford stroked his chin and pushed the chains around the door. The door was tightly closed, both physically and magically. It piqued everyone's interest, and Alex wondered if they had to decode the magic talisman or break the force. "Take everything out. I'll open it." Alex had been taught the universal spell to unlock everything. If it didn't work, that meant they had to break in and forcefully break it. Alex knelt on one leg and put his hand on the door and cast a spell. Mana gushed out from his hands and flowed into the door. The seal consisting of numerous magic circles began to glow. A small clicking sound was heard and then, boom. After Alex's mana made a huge wave, the symbols on the door began to glow and then a rumbling sound was heard. "I opened it," Alex muttered with a proud look in Noah's amazing eyes. "How are you so skilled in magic? Your magic knowledge is quite high when you're just a magic swordsman. Don't compare me to others. My presence is beyond the understanding of your little reign. You?" Noah wanted to curse Alex, who was speaking as if it were nothing, but stopped when he saw the movements at the door. The door shone with a peculiar silver light and began to slide upwards. A wide entrance appeared before their eyes. Alex entered and, followed by his companion, slowly disappeared into the ground. Everyone was nervous after entering a tightly sealed place. They all gripped their weapons firmly as Alex paced around. Alex's nose twitched a little and he sniffed. Sniff. Sniff. As they moved forward, everyone tensed up. The number of scattered golem remains and weapons increased, but what made their nerves tense was that the air around them changed as if it was piercing them with a hot moisture. "There's something down there." The scenery changed as soon as Alex spoke. Alex picked up the pace and walked forward, followed by Noah, who asked Wilford to take care of the knights. Wilford, who had his senses very sharp, felt a disgusting feeling come over him. It was quite sinister and chilling. Something ghastly covered the floor, walls and ceilings and gave off a disgusting stench. Noah walked towards the wall and felt something sticky on the edge of his shoes. He tried to touch the pieces of mucus-covered flesh on his finger. "It looks like a rotting corpse. Dumb. 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 Dumb." Alex heard a sound resembling a heartbeat and the scene before them immediately brightened. "So you're all finally here. Welcome to the final masterpieces." Alex's eyes narrowed as he looked at a massive humanoid figure of protein flesh, and in the center stood the leader of the group, who was soon engulfed by a huge mass of flesh that formed something resembling a sprout. Alex, who witnessed the hideous creatures, screamed with a frown. "It's so disgusting. Why hell does everything with these organizations?" Chapter 448, Grotesque Vision. As they stepped on the rotten pieces of meat, they moved forward. It seemed as if the entire ground was covered in it as the knights followed Alex and Noah's trail, and just like the surroundings, their expressions turned rotten. "Is that a human body part?" one of them muttered as he saw something sticking out from the wall that looked like a figure, but was clearly shaped like a person's finger. "And this looked like a piece of a limb." Another also discovered something like that. Pieces of meat stuck on the ground were shaped like human body parts, and after this, they found more pieces that looked like human body parts. There were dried skulls, half-rotted eyes, ears, and tongues. The pieces were less rotten as they moved forward and looked at all the pieces before them. The rotten smell also decreased along with the flow of mana. At that moment they heard a loud sound in the distance, and as they arrived at the place, some unconsciously gulped due to the nervousness growing inside them. Although they were knights who had been through all kinds of situations, this scene was something they saw for the first time. It seemed like this place had been used by a psychopathic serial killer. The knight in front cut off the pieces of meat that blocked his view, but no blood came out. The cut pieces moved a little. When they raised their eyebrows, they saw pieces of meat that looked like a worm wriggling and moving forward until they gathered in one place. And when they arrived, they saw a sinister presence occupying the floor. Unlike the other floors, there was only space here, and in the center of it, a huge being shaped like a giant sprout of meat came into view. The knights looked at Alex and Noah, who were looking at the things with puzzled looks. Its color faded like that of a fish that has lost its freshness. It was rotten and dull. However, it was not dead. It caused a huge jolt whenever they heard a strong pulse of mana that seemed to be pumping out mana. "What is that?" Noah asked Alex in disgust. "Almost everyone is thinking the same thing." "Who'll I ask if you ask me? I think it's best if we crush that moron and bring him out to answer this," Alex muttered. He was feeling quite suffocated by the scene as he thought about the number of beings that were killed to do something like this. Wilford almost shed tears and spoke with a sad expression. "Oh goddess, what kind of crimes did I commit in my previous life for me to have to fight this kind of thing in my old age?" Noah and Alex stared at him and both had the same thought. "This man isn't exaggerating one bit." "Noah, burn it. Burn this disgusting trash. It's a sin for my eyes to see this," Alex said as he took a step back. He wasn't exaggerating at all. It's a sin to fight the thing. She was so ugly to look at that a single glance could make a man turn vegetarian and a wild man turn into a saint who would never entertain the thought of killing anyone. "Why don't you do it?" Noah asked, but still continued forward. Noah swung his staff, which spewed flames and crashed into the bloody lump, trying to burn it. However, twitch. A strong pulse of mana shook everyone and spread everywhere, extinguishing the sea of flames. The lumps of flesh made everyone tense up. The sprout formed from the flesh, a phrase that came to everyone's mind as soon as their eyes fell on her, and it seemed more so as she moved. Hiss. Like a flower bud blossoming into a flower, its petals began to separate one by one. Petal after petal fell. The disgusting petal made of flesh squinted down to the ground, and after many layers of gall petals, an existence within came into view. A monster appeared, and its entire form was like that of a long flesh human, and there was a layer of reddish skin over it. That was already grotesque, but between those pieces of flesh, there were many human parts stuck on them. Many pairs of arms and legs were sticking out like needles. On the arms, eyes, nose and ears appeared. Blink. The monster opened its eyes and its bloodshot eyes rolled and locked onto them. Kai-ah-ah-ah-ah, the monster screamed with various voices. Wilford stood in front of Alex and Noah. Wilford could feel a sense of danger, and soon an arm filled with terrifying power was thrown towards them. Wilford's sword knocked him down and caused a violent collision that pushed Alex and Noah back a bit. The knights who were far away suddenly screamed as they felt a tickling sensation and saw large arms that were lasciviously pricking them. Many mouths appeared that tried to bite them, but they reacted quickly and moved out of the way and stomped on those pieces of flesh. Alex swung his sword towards the nose that appeared below him, while Noah covered them with a barrier as many hands tried to hit them. But none of these attacks were strong enough compared to the main body attack that Wilford faced. Wilford collides with a pair of arms launched towards him. If it were possible, he would want to dodge them, but the pressure of these blows can hurt those behind him. Each of them was packed with incredible strength that greatly surprised him. The monster had no stable base or foothold, but still, it was generating great strength enough to rival him. The man who claimed to be the leader seemed to be inside that structure. Bang! 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 Alex stabbed his sword into the writhing flesh and felt as if hundreds of eyes were watching him. He looked at Wilford and thought that it was worth it to bring him here and save his strength, but his expression stiffened as he felt a strange amount of mana. Alex, can you feel it too? Noah asked in a trembling voice. He found it difficult to maintain his expression as he watched the strong heartbeat that pumped massive amounts of mana everywhere. Alex looked at it and his heart skipped a beat and he nodded. Yes, Noah, I can feel it. This thing is using the dragon's heart to keep running and not fall apart. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.